with diverse challenges that test the cars and the drivers. Strength, resilience, toughness, gusto, speed, and willpower against all odds. We launch with the Kasarani Super Special on Thursday, cruise through Elementaita on Saturday, and beeline to Hell's Gate on Sunday, where the winner will be crowned. Keep up with the daily news, highlights, and competitors' interviews
Went empty and that's it.
as we race to the top. This Easter on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Then your IQ is not functioning.
Sitagi sina na sitagi. Open your eyes. Buju.
Kizungu yake ni ya kuongea kwa mdomo. Hana haifiki kwa mfuko yake.
Na silisikiage kwambia atakupeleka Dubai.
Labda nipeleke hapa Isili.
You look very smart.
Hapana, hii imesonewa hapo Katonzweni, hapo tu sokoni.
Hii ni yako.
Umenipatia tu.
Hiyo ufanya nayo ile kitu wewe unataka.
It is rumbling you.
It is the 18th day of March, a beautiful Monday it is. How are you doing? Good morning, Kenyans, and thank you for choosing Good Morning Kenya to start off your day. This is where you get to know everything that has been happening in the world of news and just everything concerning humans and we as Kenyans. My name is Vivian Degwa, and today I'll be having a conversation on the recognition of prior learning. This is a process used to identify, assess, and certify an individual's knowledge, skills, and competencies. And joining me for this particular conversation is Dr. Alice Kande, who is the Director General, Kenya National Qualifications Authority. I will also be joined by Peter Njiru. Peter Njiru is the Head of Registration and Accreditation, National Industrial Training Authority, and Joan Kago. Joan Kago is the Senior Training Officer, Base Titanium. We want to tune in for that particular conversation. Right now, I'll hand it over to Mike Migwe. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Vivian, and good morning to everyone who is watching Good Morning Kenya. Welcome to the program, and indeed, it's a privilege to have you watch us and start your day with us. And just to kick off your day, let me start you with the quote that I saw somewhere, and I thought it was important that you know about it. It says, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love, then make that day count. So go ye out there and make that day count. Now, later on in the program, we'll be bringing you a live coverage of the launch of Nuclear Power and Energy Agency's strategic plan launching that will be happening today, and that will happen later on in the program. So right about now, Marie.
Well, a very good morning to you, Mike, and Vivian, to you back at home from wherever you're watching us. It's the 18th of March, 2024. Always a pleasure to have you join us. And just as Vivian and Mike have already, told you what will be coming up in this particular program, I'll be bringing you up to speed with what is happening in the news. And it's a sad moment for the media fraternity. Definitely, you've heard of the passing of away of Rita Tilina, a veteran journalist, one of us. So I'll be bringing you details, all that, and much, much more. But right now, I want to start with the this particular news where President William Ruto has challenged elected and community leaders from Transmara to be peace ambassadors and build on peace efforts in the region that is plagued by conflict. Ruto maintained that the government will not relent in its quest to tame the constant conflict in the region to allow for development. The head of state spoke in Narok County during a Thanksgiving ceremony for Principal Secretary for State Department of Tourism, John Olotua. Weekly for Cage begins our bulletin this morning.
Sunday in
Always catch me.
Political leaders, Christians and community elders gathered in little-known Ildolisha village for a Thanksgiving ceremony for the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Tourism, John Olotua. President William Ruto graced the ceremony that was characterized by pomp and color. He praised the PS for his work ethic and commitment to ensuring the growth of the tourism sector.
Na mimi nataka niwahakikishie kwamba tutashirikiana na yeye na tayari akiwa na waziri wake Bwana Mutua, sekta hiyo ya utalii imeanza kupiga hatua ya kwenda mbele.
Tumeingia mfumo mzuri. Ni jamaa ambaye roho yake ni safi na anajua kazi. Ukimpa kazi anafanya kwa njia upesi na hata anazidisha. Kwa hivyo nafurahi sana nikihudumu na Mutua.
Rais, nataka kuhakikishia mbele hawa ya kwamba nitafanya kazi kwa bidii vile unipe hiyo kazi na nitaikamilisha vile inavyotakikana.
The head of state will then use the opportunity to appeal to political leaders and elders from the Transmara region to be in the front line in spearheading peace efforts.
Matatizo mengine yangetatuliwa kama viongozi wangeketi chini, wazee, kwa sababu sote tunajua kwamba penye wazee habaribiki neno.
Ruto said the government will not watch as ethnically instigated conflict continues to claim lives.
Tunapanga vile tutaungana. Sasa wewe, tunapanga kuungana tuwe Afrika. Tunapanga kuungana tuwe East Africa. Wewe unaturudisha nyuma ati tutoke huko tuinje kwa clan. Hiyo ni upuzi.
Juzi mlilete GSU hapa. Iko laini hapo kwa hiyo administration ambayo iko kombo. Please Yorosha. Iko wanasiasa wanachochea.
He warned perpetrators of ethnic violence that they will not be spared.
County government yetu na wizara yangu ya mambo ya usalama watashirikiana pamoja na nyinyi ndio tuweze kutatua hilo tatizo, ndio Narok na sehemu hii iweze kwenda mbele kwa amani na tuweze kushughulika na kuzalisha chakula, tuweze kushughulika na mambo ya maendeleo.
Ruto maintained the government will ensure all Kenyans are protected.
Peace and tranquility should be part of your leadership agenda. That is the challenge President William Ruto is throwing to leaders from the vast Transmara region.
Thank you, Weekly for Cage, for that report. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has read the riot act to Rift Valley leaders, cautioning them to refrain from incessant wrangling and focus on service to the people. The Deputy President lashed out at the leaders, saying it is shameful for leaders to make President William Ruto a laughingstock as they publicly fight for supremacy in the region. This comes barely a day after Bomet leaders clashed with a similar incident witnessed on Sunday in Narok as the area governor and the senator engaged in a war of words in the presence of the president. Gladys Mongai with the details.
These were the scenes in Bomet on Saturday during the visit by President to launch affordable housing and other projects in the area. It is the scenes that have led to the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua reading the riot act to UDA leaders. Speaking during a church service at Kapsabet AIC during the installation of Bishop Moses Serem and Assistant Bishop Joseph Mosonik, the DP said it was no longer acceptable for leaders from the region to engage in disrespectful exchange in front of the president.
Simuliona TV jana? Ile naoneshwa ni vita na kelele. Ile mazuri yote ilikuwa imetulete imepotea. Let us be very, very careful. Very careful. Msioneshe Wakenya wengine kama hamuna haja na kiti ambayo mlipewa. Hii ni kiti ya maana sana na iko nyumbani. And the only way to show the people of Kenya you appreciated their support ni kuwa na heshima katika sherehe ambaye inaongozwa na rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Gachagua threw salvos at the leaders he says were behind the ferrying of goons to development meetings addressed by the president in Kericho and Bomet County. Gachagua cautioned them against playing local politics during events of national interest.
Mtu yeyote atakosea rais wangu heshima, tutakosana. Awe governor, awe senator, awe MP, anybody from this region and our backyard, pahali si tulipigiwa kura 100%, we want total respect for President William Ruto. Na mikutano yake hawezi kuwa vile niliona jana.
The DP also assured farmers that subsidized fertilizers will be supplied in plenty.
Gladys Mungai reporting there. Now, a 24-year-old woman from Kathunzweni in Mwingi Central, Kitui County is pledging for help to trace a 7-month-old baby who was stolen in a matatu. Patience Kanini Kathambo is said to have boarded a matatu from Nairobi on the 29th of February 2024, only for a stranger to ask to hold her child, that is. She would wake up later to find the woman and the child missing, and now she suspects that she had been drugged.
Tuesday, 29th of February 2024, appeared like a normal day for 24-year-old Patience Kanini Kadhambo, a resident of Kathunzweni in Mwingi Central, Kitui County. After boarding a Kitui-bound matatu from Nairobi, she sat next to a woman who would volunteer to hold a 7-month-old child, identified as Brianna Mukinu.
Tulisafiri naye na wakaanza kuwa marafiki na mtoto, na katika ile harakati ya kucheza na mtoto tulipofika Juja akachukua yule mtoto wakaanza kucheza pamoja. Tulifika Thika pamoja na Makongeni, niliona vizuri tumefika, lakini tulipofika Makongeni nilianza kuhisi ni kama nataka kusinzia, na katika ile harakati nililala.
The woman is said to have alighted with the child at Magogoni area near Kidhimani along the Thika Mwingi Road, leaving the mother who was allegedly dragged asleep.
Kusema kweli siwezi sema nilala vipi, maana ile distance ni ndefu sana na siwezi eleza kweli nini kilichotendeka. Na sidhani kama naweza lala kama najua vizuri niko na mtoto.
She would wake up at Matu town, and after realizing her child was missing, she alighted and raised alarm.
Kuamka nilipata sina mtoto na nikashtuka, nikakimbia direct hadi Matu police station nikareport, na nikarudi tena mahali makango alikuwa ameniambia yule mama aliposhuka alishukia kwa stage inaitwa Magogoni. Nikarudi huko direct Magogoni, tena nikareport kwa police station ya Magogoni area, nikapatiwa OB na nikaanza kutafuta.
She is appealing to those who might have crucial information on the suspect or the whereabouts of the baby to report to the nearest police station.
Ndiye mtoto wangu wa kwanza, na hili jambo limeni affect sana, maana kwanza kuna ule moyo wa nilikuwa na mtoto, ninamlea vizuri na tulikuwa tushaanza kujuana, lakini all of a sudden napata kwamba sina.
And now to the sad news where renowned TV journalist Rita Tinina has passed on. Rita's body was discovered in her house in Kileleshwa on Sunday afternoon, with the cause of death yet to be established. Her body was taken to Marsh Funeral Home awaiting an autopsy to establish the cause of death. The late Tinina was scheduled to be on duty on Sunday but failed to show up, and she could not be reached on phone, prompting the management to inquire more about her whereabouts. Now, according to Kileleshwa Police, her house manager got concerned when she failed to wake up at 10 a.m., prompting her to call some of her friends, that is. Her body has been moved to Marsh Funeral Home. Rita Tinina has been in the media industry for over 2 decades and is survived by one daughter. Of course, that is a very sad story there. We hope that the family will be able to find out what happened, and definitely it's a hard time for also her friends in the media fraternity. We move on where Muslim scholars and religious leaders have been challenged to support efforts by the national government to rid the nation of illicit alcohol and drugs. Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale warned that the war on drugs will not be won without concerted efforts.
With the government having declared total war on illicit brew and drugs in the country, the Muslim community is being urged to join the war. Speaking in Garissa town, Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale asked Muslim leaders, scholars and businessmen to lead efforts to get rid of drugs in their communities, homes and towns.
We are part and parcel of the Kenyan society. We must place and take our position to make sure that we get rid of drugs in our communities, in our homes, and in our towns, and support the government initiative to clean the generation to come out of drugs.
He further called on parents to mold their children from an early age to refrain from drug use. The CS lauded security apparatus in Garissa for enhancing the fight on drugs, reiterating the government cannot afford to lose the war. This comes as Garissa County Commissioner Mohamed Babuzo named Hela Street, Garissa Ndogo, Bule Sheikh, Waberi and Iftin as areas that were notorious for drug and substance abuse, putting the drug dealers and abusers on notice.
Let's go to the counties now, where the government, through the public-private partnership, is looking to partner with a private investor to complete the stalled Korusoin Dam located on the border of Kisumu and Kericho counties. This and more in our County News Roundup.
Speaking at ACK St. Anne's Orije Church in Kisumu County, CS Information Communications and Digital Economy, Eliudo Walo, says the project is aimed at solving perennial flooding in Nyando, electricity generation, and providing water for irrigation in the area.
The model that was utilized for that dam, where it was envisaged that it was going to be financed by the National Exchequer only, is what was not feasible. We are going to rejig that model so that that dam is built through public-private partnership.
Meanwhile, Kariobangi North residents are expressing concerns over their safety after 4 children were injured and 1 man died due to poorly connected electricity lines, with some close to their homes.
Hatari inaweza kuwa kubwa sana sababu watu ni wengi, congestion tuko congested sana, na ni vizuri watu angalilie ili tusikuje kuleta blame game wakati hasara ambayo itakuwa imetokea baadaye.
Elsewhere, over 100,000 residents of Dandora Phase 5 are crying foul over the lack of a sewer system in the area, saying the situation could breed diseases, especially with the upcoming rains.
Dakika kwa dakika watoto wako hospitalini. Cholera ndio hiyo, maji ndio imefurika, na inaweza sababisha mpaka si kwa watoto tu peke yake, mpaka kwa watu wazima.
Hata pipe za maji zimepitia tu kwa hiyo sewage. Hata zingine tunajipatanga tumengojeka hii typhoid juu pipe za maji tu zimepitia kwa hiyo sewage.
And Cabinet Minister for Ministry of East African Community, Penina Malonza, has disclosed that President William Ruto will be launching construction of Kenya's largest freshwater dam next month in Mwingi, Kitui County. Construction of the dam is part of the government's plan to enhance water access and supply to local communities.
Na hii dam itakuwa inaweza kudumisha maji na kusambaza maji katika kaunti yetu yote ya Kitui na kaunti ya Tharaka na kaunti vile vile ya Tana River.
23-year-old Abdi Latif Abdi Mirad has received cash reward and an all-expense-paid trip to Mecca, Saudi Arabia for the Umrah spiritual pilgrimage after emerging victorious in the 13th edition of the Quran competitions. While congratulating the winner at the event, Muslim leaders urged Muslim youth to study and faithfully follow the teachings of the Quran. The competition was organized by Jamia Mosque Nairobi in collaboration with the cultural attaché in the Royal Embassy of Saudi Arabia.
Abdulatif Abdi Mirad from Sharfikia Madrasa, Nairobi County, is the lucky winner of an all-expense-paid trip to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, after beating 270 students from 85 madrasas who took part in the Quran recitation competition event.
I also thank my teacher, Mr. Abduli, and also I thank my parents who put me a lot of effort, and alhamdulillah.
The 23-year-old garnered 96.6 points to emerge victorious in the event held Sunday at the Jamia Mosque.
And if you look at the competitors,
there were 276.
The adjudicators said Mirad had an exceptional command of the Quran.
And we want to urge all madrasas and all Islamic schools to participate so that we make Quran a culture and our competition becomes a national issue, inshallah, going forward.
Speaking during the occasion, diplomats, leaders, professionals and scholars challenged Muslim youth to study the Quran teachings and let it be their moral compass.
What we want to achieve is we want to have good Muslim citizens, with good morals.
It is what's going to help them in their future, in their character formation, in their discipline, in their way of life. And Quran is everything really about the character of a Muslim. So we want to encourage all the youth.
Other embassies were challenged to emulate the Royal Embassy of Saudi Arabia. The 13th annual Quran recitation competitions for girls will kick off in 2 weeks' time.
Timothy Kipnoso reporting there. 3 years after venturing into border riding in Nairobi's central business district, Joseph Situma was involved in a life-threatening accident that led to the amputation of one of his legs. Our reporter Ronald Terrer spent some time with Situma and filed the following report.
Ili happen kwa barabara, road accident, personal hit and run.
Tuesday evening, 10th of August 2021. The accident that changed Joseph Situma's life. A double tragedy, quite literally. His wife walked out on him.
Nikakuwa na ugumu baada ya kujikubali naweza ishi, yani kujiona kama watu wengine. So ilikuwa imenilemea, ilinileta juu sana.
Situma kept the faith, looking forward to full recovery and resumption of border business. However, his hopes were dashed when one day, while in his hospital bed, the doctor broke the news that his injured leg had to be amputated.
Kuamuka, mimi nilijaribu kuguza, kusikia vile hiyo mguu ina act, nikaambiwa wafanya vidole hazifanyi, but doctors walikuwa washajua hii mguu imekufa.
With no spouse around him, Situma says his close border rider colleagues and his uncle came through for him.
Hao ndio walikuwa wanatuma support yao. Yes, pia nilikuwa na mjomba wangu na ambaye pia alikuwa ananitembelea akinipatia hope, akiniambia no, still bado utaishi. Usiwahi give up na usiwahi kufa moyo kwa sababu alikuwa mchungaji.
The accident depleted Situma's resources and he was yearning to go back to border riding. 10 months after the accident, when he was not fully recovered, Situma decided to return to riding. But how has Situma's life been in the border sector after amputation?
Na mwenye anakuja akiwa anaona like sina mguu, before apande, uanga wa bodaboda wengine wanamwambia, we kama umeogopa kubebwa na huyo, hata sisi hatutakubebwa kwa sababu tunajua kazi anafanya. Hajakuja hapa kwa sababu ya kujipendekeza ama kwa sababu maybe amekuja mashindano, anajua kitu anafanya. So pia na wao wanakuwa on my side. So wakiambia customer yenyewe anakuwa na hiyo moyo kusema kumbe mtu wako kazi, so napata upokezi ya customer, anakalia na kweli nikifikisha customer anasikia vizuri, ananiambia maneno ambayo inanitia moyo about my life.
Now, back in the streets of Kenya's capital, Nairobi, riding his border, Situma's prayer is to acquire an artificial limb, which he believes will make it easier for him. Situma has since remarried and blessed with 3 children, says that the border business has helped him make ends meet despite that life-threatening accident.
A story of misfortune, resilience and hope. Joseph could not imagine that one day he would wake up to the news of his leg being amputated. Nevertheless, he bounced back to the business where he is now making a living. Reporting for KBC Channel 1, my name is Ronald Terrer.
Thank you, Ronald Terrer, for that report. Now, Now let's look at sports, where the Kenya national Scrabble teams managed to win silver and bronze medals at the African Games ongoing in Accra, Ghana, despite facing numerous challenges, including limited resources. Now, the Kenyan women team finished second behind Nigeria to win a silver, while the men's team finished third behind Uganda and Liberia. Winning a silver was an achievement for the ladies team, having beaten powerhouses Zambia and Ghana on their way to the podium. The Kenyan men defeated Nigeria in the final round to squeeze through to the podium as Nigeria settled for fourth position. Inspired suffered a second consecutive defeat of the weekend after going down 36-30 to Young City in their Handball League match played at the Nyayo National Stadium. Nairobi Water and Ulinzi had walkovers after their opponents failed to honor their matches on time, while Amazon Women thrashed New Hope 33-16.
After suffering a narrow 29-27 loss to Nanyuki yesterday, Inspired once again lost their second encounter of the weekend 36-30 to Young City in one of the 4 Handball League matches played today at the Nyayo National Stadium. Joel Musa guided Young City to the much-deserved victory by scoring 12 goals as they recovered from their thrashing by Engineers yesterday. George Romogi scored 9 goals to boost Young City's win, while Augustine Kemei was Inspired's top scorer with 8 goals. In the ladies' encounter, Amazon thrashed New Hope 33-16, with Rose Otieno guiding Amazon to the victory by finding the back of the net 11 times. Nelly Karisa and Esther Acheng both scored 6 goals to help their side earn the easy victory. Phoebe Sirengo was New Hope's top scorer with only 5 goals, while Timti Baraza scored 4 goals. Nairobi Water women team was handed maximum points and 15 goals after Rising Stars failed to avail themselves on time for their encounter. So did Ulinzi, who got a walkover after Buccaneers failed to honor the tie.
Young Kings from Dandora and mixed Dagoretti girls have been crowned the new champions of the Nairobi Region Chapa Dimba finals held yesterday at the Dandora Stadium in Nairobi. The winning teams have booked slots in the national finals set to be held in Kisumu next month.
Both went home 250,000 shillings and bagged slot to the national finals set for Nakuru in April. Players from the winning teams and runner-up all got neon phones following the finals played today at the Dagoretti Stadium in Nairobi. The host Young King came from 1-0 down to humble Dagoretti Lions 6-1 and claimed the Nairobi regional crown. Lions started strongly and their effort were rewarded through a quick goal from Durkang in the 7th minute. However, a defensive error in the 16th minute led to a penalty for the host, which was converted by Edwin Toto.
The game ilikuwa poa, tulikuwa na expect ushindi kwetu, hatukuwa nataka to lose home.
In the girls' final, Dagoretti mixed girls secure a dominant 6-0 victory over Misericordia Queens from Makadara. Sis Nambuye opened the scoring as early as the 1st minute of the game. Faida Awor, Patience Kaschana, Ruth Safari each scored a goal, with Volenta Akinyi scoring twice to seal their ticket to the national finals.
Game ya leo haijakuwa mbaya, imekuwa tu fiti, kung'ang'ana tu, kujituma, na hivyo ndo tukawin game.
That story brings us to the end of the news this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to start your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. Of course, you can stay up to date by following us on our social media platforms and also tuning in to our subsequent bulletins for more news updates. My name is Marie Yambo. Vivian and Mike will be up next with the rest of the program.
Ati akona ka forehead. Akona the mark of quality.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza kiukia kitu kia Beatrix. Rosipon. Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe.
Zote zimebaki December, September, October. Wanaona, I know my life wala.
Ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa si
au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
KBC Channel 1 imeandaa vipindi spesheli katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan mwaka huu kwa ajili yako.
Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kando na ukumbi wa Kiislamu na hutuba ya Ijumaa, kutakuwa na makala yanayoangazia maswala ya funga, mawaidha,
whosoever witnesses the month of Ramadan, then he should fast.
Vipindi vya mapishi.
Katika mapishi ya Ramadhani tutatayarisha pilau ya korosho. Utahitaji viazi, vitunguu vinne vikubwa, zabibu
na kaswida mbalimbali.
Ramadan kana.
Pia tumekuandalia kalenda ya Ramadhan ili kukuweka kwenye mstari wa mbele katika funga yako. Tazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 katika mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhan ili kukuza na kuhifadhi imani yako.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Kenya. And as I had promised earlier, we are having a conversation on the recognition of prior learning. And joining me for this particular conversation on my immediate left is Dr. Alice Kande. She is the Director General, Kenya National Qualifications Authority. And right next to her is Peter Njiro. Peter Njiro is the Head of Registration and Accreditation, National Industrial Training Authority, and right next to him is Joanne Kago. Joanne Kago is the Senior Training Officer, Base Titanium. Our topic of discussion yet again is the recognition of prior learning. If we may just begin by them helping us understand what prior learning is all about. So if I may start with you, Dr. Alice, what is prior learning, recognition of prior learning?
Thank you so much, Vivian, and good morning, everyone. Rightly said, my name is Alice Kande, Acting CEO of the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. And allow me, first of all, to say where we come in before we talk about recognition of prior learning. The Kenya National Qualifications Authority is an agency under the Ministry of Education, State Department for TVET. And our role is basically to coordinate, harmonize, and ensure credibility of qualifications, academic qualifications across board, from the lowest level of training to the highest level of training, and even getting to the professional pathway. So anything that amounts to a certificate, it needs to be ascertained of its credibility. And that is where we come in to ensure that there are policies that will enable us as a country to enforce that which we are envisioning of credible certificates. And that is where recognition of prior learning comes in, because we realize and recognize as a country that learning does not just happen in class. We appreciate that as a country we've had a system that has worked for us and a system that has seen most of us go through school. But at the same time, we know there are some people, for one reason or another, they have not found themselves in that classroom setup, and even being able to progress so that they are able to move from one level to another. And we also find that those people also make something meaningful where they are, probably in the industry. And so this is where now what we implement as the Kenya National Qualifications Framework provides a pathway for recognition of any skill or competence that one has acquired outside the formal education and training. Because you already have a structured way of ascertaining. You know, when I go to class, there's a very clear way of how I'm going to progress, say, from grade 1 to grade 2 to high school to college to the level 10, which is the highest level. But then again, when we talk about the skill pathway, which is one of the 3 pathways we have in the Kenya National Qualifications Framework, then we recognize that we need to find a way of identifying and assessing that skill that I'm able to acquire outside of a classroom setup. And this is now what is being addressed by the policy that we're calling recognition of prior learning. Thank you.
All right, so maybe why is it important for us to adopt this learning? It's quite new, if you may correct me if I'm wrong. So why is it important, Peter?
Thank you. Vivian and my colleague panelists. I come from the National Industry Training Authority, and we say that the authority is responsible for regulating the training of persons who are engaged in the industry. So when we talk about persons engaged in industry, so we look at them from a training perspective. There's a person who is at the workplace whose sole responsibility is to acquire skills, whether knowledge or practice, for the purposes of furtherance, etc. So if we flip the side of recognition of prior learning, we have had very many people who have acquired skills within the workplace, whether the formal workplace or the informal workplace. For a long time, those skills have not been recognized. The country has not given them the weight it deserves. We have for a long time only looked at people who have gone through academic training as the ones who have what it takes to get into jobs, to rise in jobs, etc. But the country has come to a realization is that a majority of the persons that we have at the workplace are the ones who have acquired skills within that particular space. So the issue is, how do we then also recognize those skills for the purposes of giving these people advantages just like any other person? And when we talk about these skills, we are not only talking about the people who are in the informal sector. We are talking about the people who have acquired skills even within the formal sector. For instance, my colleague here is from a formal industry. We are working a lot with them for the purposes of recognizing skills of their workers. There are production systems that are not taught anywhere in this country. The people who work within the environment can only learn those skills within the workplace. So after they acquire those skills or learn those skills within the workplace, how do we then tomorrow empower them to go and work in any other establishment if they were to work in any other establishment? The only persons who know that they have those skills is the employer who has currently employed them. So if that person leaves the gate of the employer, they cannot say that they have any other skill. So recognition of prior learning is coming in then to give formal certification and recognition to those skills so that these people can progress. Within the informal sector also, we have hundreds of thousands of people who have gotten into that space and are acquiring skills on day-to-day basis. However, nobody recognizes those skills. And mark you, these are the people who are running the economy. If we say that, employment in the informal sector accounts for 83% of our employment in Kenya, then you can imagine how many people are in that space, how many people are running through that space, but nobody recognizes them. So we have moved as an authority into that particular space to give meaning to those skills. And for instance, we are working with the National Affordable Housing Project, where we moved into the various sites for the purposes of assessing those people on the ground working on those particular sites, so that if you work on site A and tomorrow you must move to site B, you don't have to carry a crowd of people to show that you have a skill, but the certificate that is given, which is recognized through the Kenya National Qualifications Authority, then can enable you to move from one site to another or even join the formal sector training if you so wish to join. Yeah.
So who exactly does it benefit? Does it benefit everyone? I mean, even someone who has a degree, can they benefit from it, or who exactly is benefiting from prior learning, the recognition of prior learning?
Thank you, Vivian.
Good morning, everyone. The recognition of prior learning is across board. Let me take a case study. For example, in the studio, like we are today, there's somebody who came in, probably started with record management, and right now probably is here in the production area, but doesn't have any certification of that. And or we could be having yourself who has gone to school and you've studied your mass communication in what you're doing, but you have a complementary skill that you have learned on the job, probably videography. And you've done this for probably maybe 2 years, 3 years, and it's a skill that you've learned. Now, recognition of prior learning states that you don't have to go back to school and study for that. You already have the skill. All you need to do is go back to the institution, be assessed for that skill without having to go through the normal learning structure. Because what they do is they use learning outcomes where they'll ask you questions. We call them the pre-assessment and assessment areas. They'll ask you questions in relation to the skill that you have gained. So when we speak about recognition of prior learning, it touches on everyone. It doesn't matter if you have a PhD, because you could be having a skill that you've learned that has not yet been assessed, but you feel the need of having it assessed and recognized. So it's open to everyone.
So, for example, if I may still take my case, as I'm working here as a journalist, a broadcast journalist, but probably I didn't learn editing in school, but from being here, I've learned how to edit and I'm good at it. So I just go back to school and get assessed for it, but I don't need to go through the classes. Is that what it means? And then do I get certification for it to show that I'm a certified, probably, editor? Is that the case?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, Vivian, that's the case, because saying that where it comes into address is to also avoid duplication of effort, because saying if you have already acquired that skill, why do we want to take you back again to class to learn the same things that you very well know how to do them? But we will still have to take you through a rigorous, well-structured process. So that
I would love for you, sorry for cutting you short, but I would love for you to take me through that process. How does it look like from the start?
Thanks so much. Yes, this process, which we're saying that it will not be taken as a shortcut to a certificate, well structured to ensure that from the point of where you're being identified as one who is suitable for assessment, we have people who will be able to really scrutinize you based on the evidence that you are providing. As it is, recognition of prior learning is purely evidence-driven. It is based on the portfolio of the evidence that you can produce. This is what I have done, because it's not just about just speaking. Of course, talking about it, but then provide this evidence that shows us really that I have been doing this and I am capable of doing this. So essentially then where we start is that you will present yourself to an institution that has that mandate to assess. And when I say an institution that has a mandate, this is where now K&QA again comes in to ensure that we work with institutions that we call qualifications awarding institutions, so that it is not just any other institution that you will go to and you tell them to assess you for this skill and then they give you a certificate. Of course, you know there are many who turn certificates and if they are not credible, then they are not. We've been talking about fake and fraudulent certificates. And so even in this context, we'll also ensure that we stick to those certificates that are of quality, that again have been issued by a credible institution. So when you present yourself to an institution, then a practitioner that we call an RPL practitioner, because again this will be someone who has a clear understanding of this process of recognition of prior learning, because basically it is different from the usual way of taking a book and having class, taking you to class and teaching you, you have a clear context of what it is you need to cover the whole term. This is different. You're coming to be assessed for what you have. So there has to be someone who really understands that context as well. So that is the RPL practitioner. So they'll take you from the first level, they get to gauge you at that initial level, and then they will see whether for the
evidence that you're providing, would you be suitable for assessment at probably the level that you yourself are coming to be assessed at? For instance, you said you would want to be assessed at, say, diploma level, which we call level 6. Probably given what now you have produced, they may guide that with this, you need to be assessed at maybe a higher or a lower level. And from there, then you will also be assessed practically, and that is where my colleagues come in and the industry comes in, because we would want to see you do that which you're saying that you have skill for it, and that now marks the gauging part of it, that you really have that skill and competence. And the good thing and the unique thing about recognition of prior learning is its flexibility and the acknowledgement that no one is a failure, because if really I am saying that I can do it, probably not to meet the set criteria or the set target, so I will be able to be told that this is a gap that you have. As far as video editing is concerned, yes, you can do this to this level, but for you to be certified at level 2, level 3, then you would need to go fill these and these areas, and so you would be sent probably back to where you're working, and over time you will be able to acquire those skills again. So really we're saying that no one is a failure. We leverage that which every individual has and try to bring them up so that it can also help them as well. And so we are confident that if we follow that process as it is, then we will be able to get people who are taking advantage of something that they can actually do for themselves. And what a beauty, you know, when what I do and what I like doing and what I do very well is really recognized. And the beauty of this is that once I am assessed, and you see we're saying that you're assessed by a credible institution. If we're looking at NITA, or if we look at the TVET pathway, we also have like our national polytechnics that are also accredited. Then that certificate that they give does not say that it is an RPL certificate. It is a certificate like any other, because the learning outcomes are mapped against what we have clearly provided for what it is that we expect of every level. Every level, I mean, for a degree we call it level 7. Whether I am going through the academic pathway, you go to class, or whether I am being assessed through recognition of prior learning, I should be able to demonstrate that I can meet these requirements, these outcomes that are provided for this level. So it is a certificate like any other for that particular level, and so it gives me an opportunity then to be able to even get to the formal education pathway and then be able to progress upwards, or even just use that certificate then to be recognized by the labor market, by the employer, because really it shows that I am equal to the task for that particular level. So yes, it is a rigorous process that we're glad that we've been able to really have them well curated and provided in several instruments other than the recognition of prior learning policy. We have implementation guidelines. We have other critical tools that then the implementing agencies are able to use just to make sure that it is done in a harmonized and standardized manner.
So there are different levels to it, same as the traditional way of education assessments, whereby there's you can get your certificate, you get your diploma, you get your degree, you go for, you know, so there are different levels to RPL as well.
Yes, yes. What my colleague is saying there is very true. So from 2018, the country adopted what we call the Kenya National Qualifications Framework, which is run within our authority. So we say it's a 10-level framework for national qualifications in Kenya. So the lowest qualification is level 1, the highest qualification is level 10. So level 1 are primary school qualifications, level 2 secondary school qualifications across the various pathways. And she says that we have regulators, about 4 or 5 sectors within that framework. So we have what we call basic education, which deals with primary and secondary education. We have the TVET framework, where we have TVET programs. We have higher education, and we have skills, where I represent at the National Industrial Training Authority. So if probably I speak to that very framework of skills, then we have about 7 levels for qualifications that we offer. So, and basically, we begin from transitional to current. We have what we call the government train test. which has been the certification for fundis in Kenya for a long time, artisans, etc. So which is placed at level 2 of the qualification framework up to level 8 of the qualifications framework. So when you come to us, or we come to you, the claimant that you have a skill, so we use that framework as the mirror for where we should place you. So in essence, what we have done, for each of those levels with the various sectors, we have developed standards in the name of occupational standards that my colleague has spoken to. So for each industry, whether it is this industry or any other industry, we have sat with the experts in that field to tell us, if we have a person at level 2, what should they be able to do? If we have a person at level 3, what should they be able to do? It's not us who have said. It is the industry that has told us. So if we come to Vivian claims she is able to do all these things that she knows. So we put her against that mirror. And it is not us, it is our peers. You know, because the persons that we bring on board for assessment are the workers within that particular environment. Then gurus who already have qualification. So they are the ones that will tell us, if Vivian is saying she can be able to do all these things or she knows all these things, then we couldn't praise her at level 5 or at level 6. So, and then as my colleague says about the process, having claimed is not an end by itself. So we will go further to Prof. Vivian. What evidences can you provide to justify all those things that you provided? So we have experts that will sit with you, gather evidence, provide whatever you will provide, whether it is the testimonials, real work life experiences, videos of you doing whatever you have done, all sorts of evidences that you can be able to gather. And against what you claimed and what you provide, then we engage you again, whether you still are at that level, or probably you are even at a superior level or at an inferior level, on the basis of what you submitted as evidence. Because what sometimes we realize, when people come to make the oral submissions, sometimes they talk too big of themselves, or too retro of themselves. So we have to ensure that, you know, the oral submissions combined with the evidences that they provide among themselves, combining the two, then we place you at an appropriate level. And once it is established that then you belong to level 1 or level 10, then you are taken through the formal assessment processes of that level, as will be undertaken by any examination body. So you may appear in an exam with other people, and you are through at Pierre, where them they are through the formal sector education. So when you are sitting in the exam room, nobody knows this is at Pierre or this is through the formal education and training, because as he's saying, at the end of the process, whatever you get a qualification does not write at Pierre, does not rather in at Pierre, sorry. It is a qualification as won't be awarded to any other person who has gone through formal education and training in that particular sector.
All right. So for someone who's watching us right now and they love this idea and they would love to get into it, where does one, you know, apply for recognition of prior learning?
That's a good question. This week, we'll be launching the recognition of prior learning policy framework and graduation for close to 721 beneficiaries or participants who have been with us for the pilot. With that launch, then it opened doors to the national polytechnics, the National Industry Training Authority, the TVET sectors, and many more. But Kande will be able to give it at a broader perspective, because they are the ones who are regulating which institutions have been able to be allowed to do that. But if I could add something before Kande jumps in, is just to give people faith in the lines of recognition of prior learning. When assessment is being done, especially the practical part, there are 3 people who are involved to ensure credibility of this. So you said like editing, there's definitely a practical part that is going to be required for you. The 3 people who will be there, the RPL expert, the industry expert, and the assessor. The 3 of them will gauge you differently, and everybody is going to give their mark. That is what then is going to help them in putting you in which level that you're going to be assessed for. And just like Dr. Kande said rightfully, nobody fails in the recognition of prior learning, because you also get 3 outcomes out of it. You can either get a full qualification where you meet everything in the learning outcomes. You can get a partial qualification where your skill was only addressed or specific to a certain thing, or you can get a statement of attainment. So in RPL, there's quite a lot in it, and everybody benefits. Nobody fails because there's something for everyone. Dr. Kande, you can pick up on the other one.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that clarification, Joanne. And yes, like you rightly said, where do we go?
Yeah.
We are very keen to ensure that the certificate so obtained from recognition of prior learning is one that will stand the test of time, one that will not be challenged, and if so challenged, then we are able to really say that, look, we've gone through and ticked all the boxes that would be required of a credible certificate, of a certificate that would not just be useful for me here where I am, but I would be able to also carry it, and probably even beyond our boundaries, it would be portable and enable me to even get a job elsewhere, because that is the essence of having globally competitive qualifications. And this also applies for certificates that are required through recognition of prior learning, just like any other. And so, like we rightly said, then that within the national qualifications framework, we're still talking about the 3 sub-frameworks that we have. Allow us to keep talking about that because that is our reference point. We did talk about the academic, and for the academic is where we generally begin from the lowest level to the highest, assuming that when I get to primary school, I'll go directly to the university. So I will be working with even the basic education at that level, and then I will go to the university and probably to the highest level. So when I get to the highest level, I will be at university level. And at that level, we have a regulator, that is the Commission for University Education. At the lower level, for the basic, primary and secondary, we also have the Directorate of Quality Assurance at that level. So that at every level, we have a body that we work with to ensure quality of qualifications and to ensure that we are just working with the credible institution. So for instance, Commission for University Education will ensure that we just work with the chartered universities and also for accredited programs.
Because my next question was actually on, are you working with specific institutions? Are there specific institutions that offer the recognition of prior learning?
Absolutely, and that is then what would answer this. Because we have to close in on those ones that have that credibility also and that legal mandate to undertake that task. So when we get to the TVET pathway, where this is where now we have our national polytechnics, and why we are zeroing in on national polytechnics, because we're looking at that institution that is legally mandated to issue what you call a national certificate. You'll agree with me that especially at TVET space, we have so many other institutions. You know, this country for very many years, we've really been yearning for learning, and there are also people who've taken advantage of people who've been seeking education and just establishing an institution and admitting people and just giving them certificate. Unfortunately, you'd find that those certificates do not really meet the required criteria, so we cannot really term them as national certificates. And remember, for recognition of prior learning, we're saying that that which will be assessed, it will be considered as equivalent to any other certificate that one has been given, maybe through formal education and training. And so it needs to really make sure that it meets what is required of that particular level. So we will not then have every other institution, probably wherever it is, and it has not followed the criteria for it to be called a qualification awarding institution, to assess people and give them certificates. And if they do so, then that then adds to what you're calling the fake certificates, because they are not then they have not, first of all, met the requirement of being issued by a credible qualification awarding institution. When we get to the skill pathway, then this is where the National Industrial Training Authority comes in. But then we're not saying that, for instance, in the skills pathway, it isn't only NITA that can do it. Now, NITA, and my colleague will tell you, that now they rope in other players But there is that specific law where it comes to now issuance of that certificate, because it's very critical. So we have a structured way in which all these players work in. So for instance, when you get to the TVET space, we also know we have technical training institutions. So we also have their role and what they will ought to do, so that now they link up with the national polytechnics who will be issuing the national certificate. Because our, for instance, the TVC, Technical Vocational College, or a VTC, or a technical training institution will not issue a national certificate. But there's a way now, it is very clear, and also through the framework, that they will be able to link with that qualification awarding institution, so that we are just getting that harmonized certificate from those credible qualifications awarding institutions. And so to answer your question very simply, yes, there are specific institutions that then would be able to do this task of assessing and awarding certificates through RPL. Yes.
All right, and on that note, we'll take a short break. Don't you go too far. We'll be back to continue with this conversation. Good.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who's the man in this one? And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for staying with us, and we are back, and we are talking about the recognition of prior learning. And maybe to you, Peter, for someone who's watching us and hasn't yet understood, how different is this from the traditional education assessment? How would you say it's different from the traditional way of assessing people academically?
Thank you, Vivian. Probably for starters, we say that RPL is supposed to make the invisible visible, from the point of having a qualification, having a paper that has quantified the skills that you have. So we are looking at this person who has a lot of skill, but that skill has not been quantified. Those of us who have gone through the academic and training line, our skills have been quantified because we ran, sat for exams, bingo certificates. So by use of that paper, we have done all this that we are able to do. Now you have this person whose only environment within which they have learned, a particular skill that is giving them bread for life today is within the workplace, but nobody has recognized this process. So what now we are bringing in from the point of RPL is that the systems that have been put in place is to ensure that we quantify that skill by giving a certificate. And this is what we are doing. We have identified various assessment centers for RPL because it is an assessment, it's not a training. We are simply coming to assess the skill that we have and engage it appropriately. So we have within, if I may talk for NITA, NITA has accredited about 1,500 assessment centers all over the country. And why we have done that is to ensure access, that from where you are, you do not have to travel far for you to get that service. These centers are, some are training institutions which have, a model, an industry model framework in terms of equipment and people that are in there. We also have workplaces, workplaces in the informal sector. And the best example that I can give for these workplaces in the informal sector, we have salons. We have hundreds of salons which are our assessment centers for people who are doing hairdressing. We have hundreds of garages that we have accredited for people who are doing, automotive engineering. We have work sites where people are doing construction that we have accredited. And the essence for that is to help us assess people who are in that particular building and construction industry. We have the formal sector employer where my sister sits. We have a number of institutions within there that we have accredited that are our assessment center. So once we develop our assessment standards, then we take these standards to that environment. So it is upon us to come to where you are and assess you on the basis of what you are able to do within that particular sector. Now, in terms of weight, because for instance, from where we sit, when we look at the lower level skills, the lower level qualifications that we have, we realize that the people who are praised at the shop floor, their main job is to do. So then they use their hands more frequently. So then you find our assessment framework at the lower level has close to 90% of practical skills assessment as opposed to the theory assessment. So we have a weight of 90-10. Why? Because on day-to-day basis, this person is involved in doing. So as you move higher, you have components of decisions here and there and deciding it is in. But when you look at the majority of the people that we look at that lower level, we lay a lot of emphasis on their abilities to do. So you will find an assessment standard that only speaks to do one or two. And number two, why we emphasize it at that level, remember there is a component of the language. Sometimes we argue that skills have no language. If you are able to do my hair, it doesn't matter whether you speak Kikuyu or you speak Create. So we don't want to lay emphasis on the abilities that are on this other side for some levels. All what we want you to do is to demonstrate ability to do this. And that way, we have been able then to call upon those who have these skills and they have not been certified to come on board and get those skills recognized appropriately at that particular level. However, as she says, within the 10-level framework, we have, we have 3 parameters that we look at when we are doing that assessment. We have that component of ability to do in terms of skills. Then we also have the component of the knowledge. What should you be knowing? Even as you do this here at this level, even as you do journalism at this level, what should you be knowing? So we even assess that ability of what you know in terms of knowledge. But also importantly, we have the component of the attitudes that we are supposed to demonstrate and portray for a given level of a skill. So when we come in that threefold, and the assessment frameworks that we create is that threefold. It is simple, as he's saying, the whole reason is to ensure that we do not subject you into what you already know. However, we realize that sometimes when we put you against the standard that I said, which is the parameter against which we assess you, sometimes we find people have gaps. Sometimes we recommend that for you, you could be good, you could get what she talks of three outcomes. The full qualification, the partial qualification, or the statement of attainment. Sometimes we tell a person, you could have gotten a full qualification, but you need to sharpen this area and this area in terms of skills exposure before you come for that final assessment for us to put you into the full qualification. So then we have a component that we call skills gap training. So the people we find with gaps, then we refer them to institutions, whether workplace or training institution, for the purposes of that small top-up, let me call it top-up training for now, so that then you get into being assessed as a food person. But hitherto, where we have done our best and realized that that is the best you can get, so we then either allow that you have the food qualification, the path qualification, or the statement of attainment.
So as you had mentioned earlier, the first cohort has around 721, right, who are graduating in on the 22nd of this month. And as Mr. Peter has said, it's an assessment, it's not a training. So how long, like the time frame for these ones who are graduating, how long have they been going through the assessment, as it's not a training?
Thank you, Vivian. That's a good question. For this question, allow me to fall back to my industry. I work for a mining company in Kwale, based titanium. We started this journey with the Kenya National Qualifications Authority and the National Industrial Training Authority back in 2021, where in May, where we were assessing 6, because it was the initial first pilot. Our institution was going to provide six people. Countrywide, I think there were 36 for the first pilot. And all they needed was just them to go to an assessment center. But before that, there is what I mentioned earlier, something that we call the pre-assessment, where we have the institutions come into their workplace. Like Peter has mentioned that they have accredited some of the workplaces, base being one of them, for assessment. So they came to the workplace. We had our people at the workstation, where now they had the interviews one-on-one, verbal, and they would be asked questions. I want you to appreciate RPL in the sense of language. Not everybody can speak English, not everybody can speak Swahili, but there are those people who can be able to speak their skill in a language that is well known, just like Njiru has said. And what we do is you bring in an interpreter during the one-on-one assessment, where you are allowed to respond in a language that you feel comfortable in, to demonstrate your understanding and knowledge of what is in question at that point. So once they do the assessment, the verbal assessment, they're given an assessment paper where it demonstrates what they need to do next. The next stage is they're going to do a practical assessment. That is the time now we bring in the industry expert, we bring in the RPL expert, and an assessor in a kind of way for us to be able to know, does this person move forward? Do they understand this skill they want to be assessed? Because speaking it could be different from doing it. So now we want to know, does the doing match the speaking? So they do the assessment. All this is in a one-week framework, and they do the item that they have been requested to do. For example, welding. You have been asked to do a joint, a certain kind of joint, and it has to have 1, 2, 3, 4. As you do your welding, you're also supposed to be providing your evidence, your portfolio of evidence of previous work done, so that they can be able to match and say, indeed, what you did and what you're doing now, is it the same? And also it helps to gauge on your growth, because what you started with is definitely not what you're going to produce. So once you pass that level, now you're going to be questioned on, not questioned, they're going to give you a final decision on which level you're going to be assessed. When I walked in, I felt like I was probably a certificate level person. But after they look at what I have done, they felt that I'm going to be a certificate 2 person. So they're going to tell me they're going to put me for assessment on level 2. That's where I'm going to be assessed. So from that point, we wait for the qualification awarding institution to set the exams and tell us when the exams are going to be carried out. The exams are very simple. It's a day or 3 days assessment, depending on the level you have been accredited for, or the level you're going to be assessed to do. When you go for the assessment, you do 10% theory and 90% practical, right? And from that, remember, we are looking at your skills. We're not interested in your theory, but we've already looked at your theory using the learning outcomes at the workplace. And what you're going to produce is what now makes a final decision, and we'll get the results in 3 to 6 months for you to be able to know where you are. Why I'm speaking about that is, and why I like the recognition of prior learning. It's a pathway to open job opportunities for people who have gone to employers seeking employment. And the first thing you're asked is, you're a carpenter, what do you have to show me? And they say, I want to demonstrate. And salaries are discussed at that point. And they say, I'll give you salary X. In 6 months, I'm going to give you a raise if I see what you're doing. But most of the time, it doesn't happen. But now, the recognition of prior learning will give you that certificate. You'll go in, you'll be able to bargain for your job, and it's also going to open the industry for Kenyans, even in the formal sector, where somebody is moving from the informal sector now, as a qualified mechanic, can now come and bring their papers into the formal sector and be employed. They no longer have to demonstrate because they have the paper. But technically, for the pre-assessment and the assessment, 1 week. For the assessment, 1 to 3 days, depending on the level that you have been subjected to do.
Okay, I get that. Now, is every experience and every prior learning recognized under RPL? Every single experience, every single prior learning, or there are specifics?
Thanks, Vivian. Yes, like we say, recognition of prior learning is aimed at providing inclusion. And so we can say that, yes, every experience, every skill can be recognized within the space of recognition of prior learning. For as long as now, within the institutional context, we've been able to make sure that we put up all the instruments, all the tools that will be required for one to be assessed for each and every of those skills that are there. And what we're doing just to make sure that then we enhance these inclusion beats is to work with the labor market. And my colleague Jiru spoke to that, that when it comes to even those skills that are to be assessed, and since we're saying that they are being assessed against already provided learning outcomes, already we have an expectation of what is it that we expect you to demonstrate. Now that has been informed by the industry itself. So this is what we call the occupational standards, which actually has a breadth of the industry itself. So they will provide, they will tell us this and these are the skills that we are looking at. And so we endeavor to make sure that that which the industry needs is what we are churning out from our institution. And these are the gaps also that recognition of prior learning comes to fill in. So that of course, we've been hearing about getting graduates from our institutions, which of course we know there's a lot of work that is happening in our formal institutions, but we also realize that there has been a gap in terms of graduates getting to the workplace, and then there's that bit of mismatch. They're coming with the paper, but they're not rightly fitting, because there has been a gap between what is it that the industry requires and what it is that you are trading. And so what we are seeing then recognition of prior learning doing is actually even seeking what is it then that the industry exactly needs. So to be very precise, so that we are filling in those gaps that for time immemorial we've been talking about it. That you know, the labor market says you are not really giving us the people that we need. And so all those competencies that are required, as long as my colleague said, I am able to put bread on my table because of that skill that I have, then it can be assessed through recognition of prior learning. And so we are then working together right from where we sit as KNQA in ensuring that the policy speaks to the process, and also now the implementers themselves, where they sit. Do we have all those skill areas identified? And allow me to say that at this point in time, of course, we are at our early stages of rolling it out. From the piloting phase that we had, we realized that we need to open it up. Of course, during the piloting phase, we were quite careful because we just used 3 trade areas because it was a testing ground. Again, we didn't want to bite so much then we can swallow. We also wanted to make sure that we address any gaps that could be there. But we also realized that it is important to identify those areas that have potential for our people, because again, probably it is not all areas that will really have that keen interest for prior learning. So we want to look at what are those specific areas, and I want to appreciate that through International Labour Organization that has been a key partner even for us in developing of this policy, recognition of prior learning. They are currently helping us to identifying those occupational centers that we can run with for now, so that we are not going to leave anyone out. So we want to bring them out, we flag them out, and make sure that we are able to really provide for assessment way of for all those skill areas that we identify. Yes.
Maybe what are some of the misconceptions that you've had that are around recognition of prior learning, and what are you doing to demystify these misconceptions?
Thank you. The first one, which comes to mind immediately, has been the notion that RPL is for dishing out certificates. I think it's the biggest misconception that we have had, where the academic side feels that we are now coming to distort the academic ecosystem. That we are now telling people from now on, no schooling. You just go for certificates. It's a big misconception that probably I can illustrate. When we were doing the pilot, phase 1 and phase 2, the total number of applicants who came showing interest in the 3-4 trend areas that we were looking at was about 1,200. So when people had this RPA, this pilot in the various areas, because we are dealing with automotive technology, we are dealing with hairdressing and beauty, fashion, and the fourth one was the welders and people in that particular environment, the mechanical areas we call it. About 1,000 people came. They came in their numbers en masse because they knew today is the day for us to get certificates. So when they were done the first screening to gauge what they have, about 400 were dropped. They were found to be not having anything substantial to be engaged against the standards that we talked about. So the 700 went through the process of then being guided on building adequate evidence to lay a claim onto what they were saying. And out of the 700, only about 400 were determined to be okay. So those are the people who went for the final assessment. From the 400 who went for the final assessment, only about half of them managed to get a full qualification. The rest got partial and statement of attainment. So that raised that particular fear, because from what my colleague presented, from the start to the end, we have put in adequate quality assurance mechanisms to ensure that then nobody gets in if they are not supposed to get in. For instance, when you get screened for the first time, the person who then judges that you have a skill for where you can provide evidence is not the person who evaluates that evidence. And that is objective, that is deliberate. Because already we argue that this person who then qualifies you to bring the evidence has already determined that you have something. But we want another independent person to determine, to agree with that particular individual. And we have now instances where, whereas on the first stage, you are determined to be what you are, at the second level it was determined, this one, there was a mistake here and there. Probably you talked too much and convinced that person too much. But at the point of providing evidence, bando. Then when we went to the third stage, where she says that we have about 3 prayers on the final assessment, because then you have the RPL expert, you have the industry expert, and you have the trainer. When those people are there, you cannot pass through if you are not supposed to pass through. And all that we are putting adequate quality assurance mechanisms to ensure then that notion that RPL is for a way of dishing out certificates is not the narrative. Number 2, we have this other notion that RPL is for the people in the informal sector only, the Juakari sector. Capital N, capital O, no. It is for, among others, those people who have acquired skills within the informal sector. Because what we are looking at is people who have run, what we say, running non-formally and running informally. Okay? Those people who have run formally, oriented structures are there for them to get certificates and get qualification. But those people who have run non-formally and informally do not have particular privileges of that. And that's why within the workplace, where non-formal learning takes place, the formal workplace or the informal workplace, all those skills are supposed to be taken. another category of people who have run from home. And on this I give a good example. If we were to be given 3 plates of ugari here, we'll get ugari from a chef who has gone to Utari. We'll get ugari from Joan, who is working in the hotel industry, but out of cleaning utensils and interest, she has learned how to cook ugari. Then we'll get ugari from you, who has learned from your mom how to cook ugari. When we have the 3 ugaris, we really can't tell. It's not written. This one is from Utari, this is from home, this is from the industry. And probably if we sample, I'll not be shocked if we say your ugari, which you learned how to cook from your mom, is better than, you get. So this RPL is not only for those who then are in some sector. It's for everybody. As long as your skills have not been amplified, they have not been quantified, then RPL is for you. So we are not talking about, we are not limiting it to sectors. Rather, no, we are open to all sectors. But as it says, as NITA, we are within the Ministry of Labor. So where labor market information is. So within us, we have what we call sector training committees that we work with for the purposes of then tell us which are the priority sectors. For instance, now we are moving to, let me use the example, the affordable housing project, where we have so much youth who are in that particular sector. They have no certificate. Some have worked for years. We are moving on to them. When the president is making a clarion call for labor migration, remember, it's only a person who has a quantifying skill that can even leave Kenya to work out there if they so want to access those job opportunities. So how then will they go there? And there's nothing that they can show for these very, very skills. So as we work with all the sectors, then we are putting from a priority level, which are where people are much run on the job, they don't have these skills recognized, so that we take it to them for the purposes of prioritization. So that component of, as I've said, the misconception, we are dishing out certificates, it's only the informal sector people that are supposed to get a certificate, and been things that we have been struggling with, at the end of the day. And of course, the last one is that I've heard people talk about RPA in forums, and they are saying that you will be given an RPA certificate. There is no certificate called an RPA certificate. And I think my colleague Daktari didn't say that the RPA is a process by itself. But at the end of the day, what you get is a certificate that won't be given to any other person within that particular framework. So if you go to higher education for RPA, you will get your degree or master's or PhD certificate at that level. If you go to TVET, you'll get your craft, artisan, or diploma. If you go to NITA, they will give you their government train test or national skill, whichever certificates they give to any other person, because at the end of the day, equity. What you get, what I get, doesn't matter the route that you follow.
So it's not written RPL?
No.
Because I actually you had mentioned earlier, but I was just, as I'm also learning on the go on this, what is it written? Like it's written, this diploma is awarded to, this degree is awarded to, because I imagine when we're out here seeking for jobs, the requirements normally, ask for, you need to have a degree in this and that. So your certificate is the very same certificate as the one that we get in the traditional learning institutions, as you say. So it depends on the levels, as you've said. There's the full qualification. Yes. So the full qualification is equal to what? Level 7 is equal to what? Level 6 is equal to what? In terms of where are we grading, where are we putting this one? This is a diploma, this is a degree, this is a master's degree.
So, okay. So, I talked of the Kenya National Qualifications Framework, where she is a master in. They are the ones who actually provide that framework for quality assurance and for standardization of all qualifications in Kenya. So, as I am attempting to say earlier, if you go to that 10-level framework with the various sectors that I spoke to, I think we have level 1. Level 1 is for people who have KCPE. So if you go to basic education through RPA, and you are taken through an assessment and you are determined that you can have a KCP certificate, then you will be given a KCP. And probably for starters, all what will happen is that you will meet the former people at the exam. You will meet during the assessment. You will not go through the training. So meet you at the exam. We sit for an exam like any other person, so you get that level 1. Level 2 is KCSE. So, yes.
Okay. Even as you're explaining that, where are we drawing the line? Because I remember you've mentioned this in the misconception, but where are we drawing the line if it is starting from the primary level? You know, where are we drawing the line in, you know, you don't really need to learn?
No, we are not saying you don't really need to learn. We are saying you have already learned.
Okay.
The presumption here is that you already have the knowledge.
Okay.
And the skill.
So when you're talking of the primary level,
yes,
what are we talking about?
So if then it is determined after you are screened,
okay,
and the best you can be, you are equivalent to a person with a primary level qualification.
Okay.
Then if you are so assessed and awarded a qualification, then you will be given a KCPE certificate. You understand? If then you are engaged that all what you have in terms of knowledge, skill, etc. is the equivalent of a KCSE, then you will be assessed like a KCSE person. If you move to level 3 qualifications, so you have, if you look at the framework, you have what we call, under skills, we have government training certificates. We have what we call a grade 2 certificate, which is placed at level 3 of the qualifications framework. And at that level also, we have what we call an artisan 3 lowest levels of artisans in this other activity framework. They are placed at that particular level. If you go to level 4, you have the full artisan and activity, but underneath that we have what we call a government train test 1, equivalent at that level of the framework. If you move to level 5, we have a crafts person. So the people who get craft certificates, or the people who get it from the NITA sign, they call of what they call the master craftspersons certification. They are placed at level 5 of the framework. If you move to level 6, we have the diploma certificate. At the NITA level, I know they have what we call the master craftspersons too. They are all placed at that particular level 6. You move to level 7, you have your first degree, the bachelor's degree, placed at level 7. I know from the NITA sign, they have what they call a master craftspersons 1. If you go to level 8 of the framework, you have the postgraduate qualifications and the professional qualification placed at that particular level. I know from the NITA sign, they have what they call a professional master craftsperson. Then you move to level 9, the master's qualifications is only higher education that has a qualification at that level. And level 10, you have the holders of PhD qualifications. That is the highest that we have in the country. So if you are judged and praised at those particular levels for the purposes of assessment, so if you are then assessed and qualified to be, then you've been given an equivalent certificate as would be given to a person at any of those.
I now understand that. I now understand that completely. Now, maybe what are some of the challenges and barriers that RPL is facing?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Peter spoke part of it as he was giving his speech. One of them is portfolios, the evidence of portfolios in terms of the students. They'll approach the institution and they want to be assessed, like he said, but they don't have what it takes. They're not able to demonstrate, and they feel that they have what is needed for that to be done. That's number one. Number two would definitely be the cost. The recognition of prior learning. As much as we're saying you've been assessed on your skills and knowledge, there's a cost to it for you to be assessed. And the cost is a little bit higher than the normal pathway that we take for the traditional learning. Yes. And we appreciate the National Industry Training Authority for the employers. If you're paying levy, you're able to probably use your levy to help your employees. And the third one probably would be the tool advancements. I believe when you are at your workplace, or when you either on the formal or the informal sector, the tools you use are not the tools you're going to be finding in the training institution. So the difference, it creates a lot of a setback for the students once they go in. And we appreciate the process that is now allowing the student to bring in their tools to the assessment centers, or even the flexibility of the qualification awarding institutions going to the assessment centers to do it for you should the tools be a little bit heavy. Lastly, the misconception, just like you had asked earlier, you don't need to learn. The barrier, so people are coming in and saying you're giving RPL, so I'm here to be given because RPL is there. So some of those challenges are there, and trying to bring back these discussions like we're doing this morning is clearing the air, and bringing people in and them understanding the process further and how it's going to be done. But I believe in the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. Their website has more information on what the recognition of prior learning is and what information they need, who can be able to benefit from this, and how they can be able to benefit from this. Yeah.
Speaking of the cost, can we give it a figure? Can we get a figure on just how expensive it is?
Yes and no, because we are still on course with the exact figure that we would place for assessment for each and every level. But when we were undertaking the piloting phase, we worked with a figure of 25,000. And institutions that really undertook that, the assessment bodies especially, they would tell you that probably that was a bit on the lower side, depending on the level one is looking at, because of course rigor varies with the level. Because the higher it is, the more then we would expect one to provide as much evidence as possible, as in rigor increases as you go up. If you're looking at probably someone at level one, probably equated to the KCP level, of course, the assessment, looking at the portfolio and also engagement of that person may not be as intense as one who is at artisan level. Level 4. And so right now we are working on what we're calling differentiated unit cost. And again, I want to appreciate our key partner in this journey, the International Labour Organization. They are working with us in determining the unit cost. We realize, just like the way we have it in our formal education system, because again, remember, we're saying that we are not running away from our education system. We are actually embedding RPL on the current education system. And so just like there, we know we have it differentiated across levels in the formal education and training, the traditional way. Similarly, we also expect it to be differentiated. And so we already have a draft report that gives some laws of about 15,000, a range of 15,000 to about 30,000, but something we're still looking at, because again, we're looking at what is the essence of this. The bottom line is that this policy should provide an opening to those that probably were disadvantaged because of the cost that we have in this other system. So if again it comes with that higher cost, then again we might not be addressing the gap that we are looking at, amongst them being the affordability. And so we are looking at then at creative and innovative ways of making it as affordable as possible, looking at how institutions can make it at least reachable to that segment that we are targeting. And so figures are there. And very soon we will have a firmed up figure to give. But I can say at least we have something that guides the institution on how to determine, because already we are rolling out. They are able to determine for all those phases, how is it that you can cost it. But allow me also to just echo what my colleague Joanne has rightly said about the challenges that we're facing, and rightly put. But I also want to say that, of course, seeing that we are at initial phases right now, it's still a new concept, misconception being there, the low publicity that is there. And so this is where we ride on stakeholders like yourself. We want to appreciate that even the media has been very, very keen trying to understand this, because our hope is that we would all understand RPL for what it is. Because again, if we just let everyone speak to what they think it is, then we shall be giving that misinterpretation of it. And so we are looking at having a very well-driven publicity drives, and we want to hope that now with that kind of publicity we would be able to ensure that every stakeholders, including even the targeted beneficiary understands what RPL is and the expectation, so that we do not just get people saying that we are going to be issued certificate, twende pale, their certificates being issued. No, they will get to know that it is really a structured program that is targeted to address that which that other system has not addressed. Yes.
All right, maybe how can employers and other educational institutions come in to support recognition of prior learning?
Thank you. As I said earlier, we have within our backyard, because then we are working with assessment bodies, we have accredited many to roll out this. Actually, what we agreed with the KNQA is that from 23rd of March, it's all systems go. From where I sit in ITA, we have tens of companies that have already written requesting us to move into their space to assess their workers. But we have said, hold on kidogo. Before we have this whistle that will be blown on 22nd, no time yet. So out of the requests that we have been receiving is that then we have been working behind the scenes then to come up with standards. Because as Joan said, part of the challenge that we may have, a big one, is if people come in mass in the various areas. And you see, you can't determine, you know, people will be in which fields when they come. So the expectation is that by the time they come, individuals will come, groups will come, and the expectation is that you have products for them. So we are partnering with employers at a bigger scale. Within the labor sector, we work very closely with the Federation of Kenya Employers, who is a major player in this very environment. So that component of diffusing information to among sector employers to bring their people for assessment, to participate and to take advantage of this particular initiative, we are working closely with them at that particular level. On the informal sector level, we are working with the Kenya National Federation of Jua Career Association, and they have been massive in terms of pushing to ensure that, you know, this works out, reaching out to their constituents, reaching out to their you know, umbrella bodies that they have within the country for this to happen. And notably, even when we are doing the pilot, these are some of the bodies that we worked with for the purposes of that component of identification. Within the labor sector, it is something that we call social dialogue, where we, the regulator, does not reach out to beneficiaries alone, that we work with this ecosystem of employee organization to reach out to them. And of course, you realize for us to determine that this is an area of priority, then of course you have to work with the sector players within for you to be able to engage what is higher, what is lower in terms of approaching. Because even then, that is the partnership that then brings that component of the funding. That, you know, Base Titanium has spent quite some, I don't know whether colossal amounts of money will be a right English one. They have spent quite some money in ensuring that almost all employees that have acquired skills within that space and have no certification go through certification. So they have borne the cost on behalf of the employees. And NITA has been there several times doing this. Even now, it's only that we are not talking on air. Joan will be asking, when are you coming to conclude a number that is waiting? But I think I have answered our question that we are waiting for the whistle on Friday the 22nd for us to be able to move into that very space. The body, the International Labour Organization has been massive in terms of support. At the National Outing Project, I think we worked with KCMB Foundation and other players that have come on board. So there is a lot of partnership through the policy for these bodies that can support, you know, this very process. And my part of the group that we assessed during the pilot were the refugees, I think, in the various camps that we have in this country. So the refugee-based organizations that we have in this country came in full force to ensure that, you know, those people are supported. And even now at the backyard, they are still pushing to have hundreds of thousands of others that were not reached out during the pilot, because you will not reach out to everybody, go through this particular process. So that partnership, guided by KNQ and other players that we're having in these sectors and the industry, is working much for us in order for us to partner and bring all these people into the framework.
Are there maybe, as we come to a close of this conversation, are there success stories that you can share with us so far? Yeah.
We have one of our employees. He's from the local community in Kwale. He joined the organization, I think this is his 7th year. He did not have primary school, high school, and he was a musician when BASE was starting. He joined base as in the welding sector, where he was working with the contractors then, and he started learning his skills there. He became a breadwinner for his family, and when the recognition of prior learning came about in 2021, he was one of the people who said, I want to be part of the pilot. And we went through the process with him. Remember, he had no academic qualification whatsoever. All he had were the skills he's had from the years he's been in the industry with us, and learning and also growing through the ranks in promotion. When we did the assessment, he got a grade 1. It's not an easy thing to get a grade 1. It's actually one of the levels that Peter is speaking about, level 3 and level 4. And seeing him speak about it and saying how it has been able to assist him, and also now that he knows, unfortunately we closed the mine this year, knowing that moving forward in his next agenda, he has somewhere he can go and present his paper without him being asked, what are you bringing to the table, without him giving a story of how he got the paper. Because again, the question that is coming about is my certificate being written RPL? No. He provides his grade 1 paper, and he's employed as a welder, a very qualified welder. And I think that's a beautiful story. Somebody from the local community, no education, but here he is doing something that somebody has been in school for and is well qualified. I think that's a beautiful story to write home about.
I agree with you on that. My final question, what advice would you give to someone who is considering RPL?
Come.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
We have institutions out there, the qualification awarding institutions, the assessment bodies that we have, and I think in the various bodies, whether it is NITA, KNQA, TVETA, TVET, all national polytechnics, I think information will be out there for which institutions that these people can approach for the purposes of that assessment, so that they are then not left out. So we urge people, RPL is here with us, walk into an assessment center, walk into a qualification awarding institution, get information, get screened, get assessed, get your certificates. The players who are, again, for the 4th time I talk, the affordable housing project, part of the key benefit has been to these people that are working in that space without any sort of certification. We are closely working with NCA, that once this person is certified, that they have a skill, can then be given the practicing certificate that NCA gives to people in that particular environment, so that if you leave one site, then through that empowerment you can go to another site and another site without having to express yourself by the papers we speak for you.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
Like we are saying, from our end at police level, then we're also telling the institutions, all these players, that let's all get set for it, because as we tell the candidates to come, then they are finding all of us ready for this. So yes, let them come. We're ready for the assessments.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for just enlightening on this very insightful, conversation. Thank you for that. Right now, I want to hand you over to my colleague, Victor Olo, who is on standby in South Sea at the Kawi Complex Auditorium for the launch of the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency Strategic Plan for the year 2023 to the year 2027. Victor Olo, to you.
We thank you for the gathering that we're here today.
All right, good morning. We are coming to
from 2023
Kawi House here in South Sea in Nairobi, where the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency is launching the 2023-2027 strategic plan that is going to steer this state corporation for the next 4 years. Remember, this is coming at a time when the initial strategic plan 2020-2025 is lapsing, and the strategic plan for the next year, for the 2023-2027, is being launched at this particular hour. It's important to note that the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, formerly Kenya Nuclear Electricity Board, is a state corporation established under the Energy Act 2019. It is also charged with the responsibility of promoting and implementing Kenya's nuclear power program, carrying out research and development for the energy sector. Now, towards attainment of its mandate, the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency shall also develop policies and legislation, undertake public education and awareness, identify suitable sites for the construction of nuclear power plants, carry out research, development and innovation on energy technologies, as well as capacity building for the energy sector. Towards attainment of its mandate, the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency is also mandated to identify suitable sites for the construction of nuclear power plants, carry out research, development and innovation on energy technologies. And on this particular day, we expect Dr. Winfred Ndubai, who is the Director, Strategy and Planning. We are also expecting Justus Wabuyabo, who is the Chief Executive Officer, as well as Davis Chirchir, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, to officially launch this particular NUPER 2023-2027 strategic plan at the NUPER, the Kawi, that is at Kawi House here in South Sea. Right about now, let's head over and take over the program, what's happening at the auditorium.
Joining us shortly, but otherwise feel most at ease, feel welcome, and give a high five to the person next to you. Tell him, Jambo, good morning. Mwambie tuko poa. Mwambie nuclear ni poa. Okay, so what we will do today, we're going to launch this plan, and there are hard copies of the strategic plan. However, we also have the QR codes, and those with the QR codes, maybe you could even have one near the front here. If you have a smartphone, I believe most of us do. Ama kuna wale wana ile katululu. Mnajua katululu? The one that just rings. And with your smartphone, you can also just scan the QR code, and you'll have it in soft copy in no time. One more thing I'd like us to do when we're here today, I want us to say we are here. Our hashtag is NUPER Strategic Plan. So let's all make use of our smartphones. Either take a selfie or just send a message. If you're the selfie type, take a selfie and say, I'm here. Or say, give a message, I'm here, and let's be energized. And the hashtag is NUPER Strategic Plan. So let's also do that as we go along. Chukua tu picha moja. Hata kama utaki kuchukua selfie, you can just take a picture of the setting and tweet it. What we used to call tweet, now X. So you can post it on X, you can post it on Facebook, and yeah, let's share that. And hashtag NUPER Strategic Plan. So I'll be looking. I want us all to do that, beginning with our chairman. And all the rest. And so at this juncture, I want to invite a lady who's been the one carrying this process through, who is the Director Strategy and Planning at NUPER, Dr. Winfred Ndubai. Dr. Winfred Ndubai will give us some, just a brief summary. What's in this plan that we're launching today. So when you want to eat, you want to know what's in the menu. And so you need to encourage her by giving her a big round of applause so she feels right at home. And karibu.
Thank you, Bassett. Chairman of the Board of Directors of NUPER, Mr. Ezra Othiambo, the Board of Directors present, the Director of Public Prosecution, Mr. Renson Ingonga, all CEOs present and chairpersons of various organizations, my colleagues and NUPEA, good morning. My name is Winnie Dubai. I'm Director, Strategy and Planning at the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. And this is a great day for us at NUPEA. And we want to start by thanking you for being here. We really appreciate that you have come to launch this strategic plan with us and to celebrate the achievements that we have made so far. So I would want to take us through the journey that we have taken as NUPEA to develop this strategic plan, which started with the issuance of the guidelines, the 5th generation guidelines by the National Treasury. And I want to assure this gathering today that NUPEA followed to the letter the guidelines that were provided by the National Treasury. And it was a consultative process of members of staff at NUPEA, the management, and under the guidance of the board. I want to really appreciate the CEO for providing guidance with regard to giving the provisions within this strategic plan and even providing the resources, because as we all know, within the public sector, as we develop these strategic plans, there's a lot of activities, a lot of planning activities that require resources, and we want to thank the CEO for providing that. So I hope you all have a copy of the strategic plan today. Some hard copies have been provided as well as soft copies. And I want to just give key highlights of this strategic plan. And I want to start on page 22. If you could kindly move there with me. It is important for all of us to understand the mandate of the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, and this is provided under the Energy Act 2019, Section 54. The mandate of the NUPEA is provided on page 22, and it is one, to be the Nuclear Energy Program Implementing Organization, and I'll be elaborating that shortly. And secondly, to carry out research and development and dissemination activities in the energy and petroleum sector. And based on that mandate, we did develop a vision which caters for the nuclear power aspect. It also covers for research and development coordination for the energy and petroleum sector, as well as the coordination of capacity building. And therefore, our vision is to provide sustainable, affordable, and clean energy solutions. And those energy solutions will be provided not just through the nuclear power, which will be a baseload and clean source of energy in our power mix, but it is also those clean energy solutions will come through innovative research that will bring up new ideas and new technologies within the energy sector. Capacity building is also very key for us, because as we know, the energy sector is quite knowledge intensive, and this remains the same for the nuclear power program. So we need an energy sector that is knowledgeable, and we have to have a clear knowledge management system to be able to sustain the knowledge within the sector and apply it for the good of our country. And therefore, based on that vision, our mission is to develop nuclear power, undertake research and capacity building in the energy and petroleum sector for socio-economic development. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to also further refer you to a section that I want all of us to remember today, and that is on page 40. If you can move to page 40 of your strategic plans. In order to be able to meet our vision, we have identified 6 strategic issues that will drive the implementation of this strategic plan. And these are associated with 6 goals, and this will be implemented through 6 key result areas. And these are really our pillars. And I want to urge all of you to take away this as part of what you take away today from this launch. The first strategic issue is nuclear infrastructure development. The nuclear power program in Kenya is implemented under the International Atomic Energy Agency milestone approach. This is a UN-guided approach in the development of any nuclear power program to ensure nuclear security, nuclear safety, and nuclear safeguards. So Kenya is following the best international standards in the implementation of her nuclear power program. So we have made it very clear within our strategic plan with clear strategies, with clear strategic objectives and activities that will ensure that all the 19 infrastructure issues that are identified in the IEA milestone approach will be clearly followed in a systematic way. One of those very key issues that we will closely be following as we implement this strategic plan is to ensure that we have national and international legislative framework to support the nuclear power program. Other than the local laws that may need to be amended to be able to efficiently implement the program, we are required to ratify safety and security conventions and protocols. And so the strategic plan before us has a very clear plan of ensuring that all the required legal and regulatory framework, both at national and international level, are acceded to and ratified by the country. There are also many other infrastructure issues, and I want to refer members to a detailed implementation matrix that you can look beyond this meeting because I have no intention to go through the detail. On page 50 of this strategic plan, you will get a detailed outline of all the activities, the targets for the 5 years, and clear resource allocation for the same. And you will be able to identify that we have been able to highlight the need for human resource capacity development. We have identified the need to put in place radioactive waste management facilities, the costing of the nuclear power program. All that is from page 50 of our strategic plan. The second strategic issue I'd want to speak to is stakeholder engagement and advocacy. As we carry out our nuclear development program, as well as research and development and capacity building coordination in the energy sector, we would want to ensure that we enhance the acceptance and support of these programs. And so our strategic issue number 2 is on strategic engagement and advocacy. We want to ensure that we have clearly identified, and within this strategic plan you will notice we have identified our various stakeholder groups, and we have been able to clearly set out the strategies to engage these groups. The third strategic issue is energy research and innovation that seeks to enhance energy sustainability through research and innovation. And this is a mandate that is provided by NUPEA in the Act following the realization that our various organizations in the sector carry out independent research and development. And so there is need for us to have a coordinated approach to research and development and to bring the resources that we have within the sector together to be able to also build on the strengths of every organization. I'm very happy to see the CEO of KenGen here today. And an example that we'll be pushing forward is to ensure that KenGen and the Geothermal Development Company, even as they carry out their respective mandates with respect to geothermal exploration and development, then we should be able to identify with them the areas where we can be able to build that efficient utilization of the resources within the two organizations for the benefit of the sector and also the benefit of the country. Other areas are also related to human resource capacity development, and now I'm moving to strategic issue number 4. The same applies that our various institutions have been carrying out the aspect of capacity building independently. We realize that there are benefits to bringing this together, especially in areas of commonality across our organizations. And therefore, we want to be able to improve the human and institutional capacity in the sector. Something else that has not been well streamlined is that we do not have certain infrastructure to be able to commonly build the capacity for the energy sector. And so we want to ensure that we have the knowledge management strategies for holding the sector together in terms of the capacity. The fifth strategic issue is on nuclear research reactor program. And for the goal for this is to ensure the timely deployment of a nuclear research facility. And what is a nuclear research facility? This is a research reactor that will use nuclear techniques, but it will not be used for generation of electricity. It is used for research and development, for education. It will also be used for production of radioisotopes, for use in medicine, and also in the industrial sector. One of the issues that we are very passionate about is to ensure that this research reactor will be deployed by the year 2030. It will be a game changer in the medical fraternity, because we are proposing to present cancer diagnosis and cancer treatment options or that are not available in the country. You have noticed that there's a lot of travel for medical reasons because we do not have certain treatments within the country or diagnosis. So this nuclear research reactor facility that we are proposing to develop within this strategic period will bring about a game changer in the health sector, in the water sector, because of the use of nuclear techniques for water resource management. We are also going to bring about radioisotopes for use in the industry. So this is a facility that will be a game changer, and it is going to be located at Konza Technopolis. I'm sure KOTDA is represented here, and we are very grateful that they have already allocated 65 acres of land for the use of putting up that research facility. On the same piece of land, we have proposed from the year 2027, as you can see from the implementation matrix, we are proposing to put up an energy laboratory that will also enhance the research and development within the energy sector. And so strategic issue number 5 covers very strongly the issue of the research reactor project that we will be able to commission in the year 2030. The final and very important aspect is institutional sustainability that is covered under strategic issue number 6. And in this, we seek to enhance the institutional capabilities of the organization to deliver its mandate. We want to leverage on ICT. We want to leverage on implementing management systems that will support the implementation of all the activities and programs within the agency. We want to enhance corporate governance, and we have been able to clearly stipulate the strategies that will enable us achieve this. So, ladies and gentlemen, our strategic plan today is based on those 6 key strategic issues, and I want to invite you to get into more detail, perhaps after our launch, so that you can be able to understand the issue of NUPEA. So moving on, the other issue I want to speak about is on resources, and I'm very glad the PS is here. PS, State Department for Energy, karibu sana, Mr. Alex Wachira, we're very happy to have you. And one of the key issues that we have identified in this strategic plan is the resources that we will require to implement all the activities that we have identified. And the total resource requirement for this strategic plan implementation is 36.23 billion. Of course, that means that we will have to be very proactive in resource mobilization and resource utilization. And in this strategic plan, we have also put in place the strategies towards enhancement of resource mobilization. And so, PS, we will also be calling upon your support so that even as we talk to various development partners and other partners, we shall be able to realize this goal to be able to get all the resources that we need for implementation. And finally, I would want to speak about the strategic theme teams that have again been identified in this plan. And this is to enhance the implementation of the plan. Each of the 6 strategic issues that I have identified and talked to you about have also are going to be implemented under the coordination of strategic theme teams, and all this will be under the management team headed by the Chief Executive Officer. So again, if you go to page 96 of the strategic plan, you shall be able to see the various teams that have been identified for this role. It will not be right to end without talking about our core values. What is the core value? The core value is really the DNA of an organization. And we have been able to identify our core values on page 23. In order to be able to achieve the aspirations of this plan, we also realize that we need the proper DNA to be able to work together, to be able to put excellence in all our work. And so we have five core values. The first one is safety culture. We want safety culture to be the cornerstone of everything that we do as an organization. We want to work as a team, to collaborate. We want to ensure that we have collective responsibility in all that we do, and to ensure that we leave nobody behind. So teamwork is also an aspiration that we want to really drive as part of the implementation of the plan. The next issue for us that is very key is agility. We need to be able to adopt, to respond, to be innovative. Now that we have a responsibility to coordinate research and development in this sector, we should be one of the most innovative organizations. And we have already seen a great job done within our sector. Kenji and Kenya Power, REREC, doing a great job in terms of innovation, but we want to ensure that we are agile enough to also lead this process within the sector. The fourth core value is integrity. It is so critical because we need to be honest, we need to be fair, we need to be transparent, and we want to be accountable for all our decisions, because that is the way we are going to build the confidence for Kenyans and also the sector, because we've been given some really, really key mandates to drive. And finally, we want to be excellent in all our operation. We shall be dedicated to excellence by continually improving our performance and upholding the highest standards of professionalism. And we want to put ourselves accountable to everybody who's in this meeting and state that we intend to keep to our core values in order to bring this organization to the proper place and to implement all the targets that we have set. And with that, I want to thank you for listening and looking forward to the rest of the program. Thanks again for being here. Thank you.
Let's give her another round of applause. Hasn't she done well? I think she's done very well in encapsulating what we are, where we are coming from, and more importantly, where we are going. And you realize that 2030s are the moment for NUPEA. That's when a lot of things are coming to fruition, because you're told nuclear research reactor 2030, and beyond that, first nuclear power plant around about 2034. So good times ahead, but good times need a clear roadmap, need plans, and need to be done very, very meticulously. And as she said, safety is key. Tuseme nuclear ni poa. Kabisa. So, Bwana PS, karibu sana. Thank you for joining us. Before you came, I just told everybody, you can take a selfie of themselves, or they can take this and say, I am here. I'm launching NUPEA's strategic plan, and the hashtag is NUPEA strategic plan. So I'm sure you'll do that as well. Yeah, I know you're one of the real ones. Wale wenyewe. So karibu sana. And at this juncture, I would like to now invite the CEO, Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, Justus Ambutsi Wabuyabo. I know many of you didn't know that middle name, did you? Leo natambua, nimaachilia wajue that you also have a middle name. So, Bwana Wabuyabo, please come. The floor is yours. And let's welcome him to the stage with a round of applause as well. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Minister, Mr. EGH, represented by our Principal Secretary, State Department of Energy, Mr. Alex Washira, our Chairman, Engineer Ezra Odondi, now that Bassett has said we disclose all the names, Odondi Odhiambo, the DPP, Honorable Renson Ingonga, members of the board, CEOs present, boards and directors of other boards present, NUPEA staff, distinguished. It gives me great pleasure to extend to you all, on behalf of Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, our greatest appreciation for joining us this early morning. Very much in line with the excellent report that we have been receiving from all our stakeholders, I am honored to recognize the presence in absentia of our CS, who was actually supposed to be with us until a last minute appointment, but ably represented by our PS, Mr. Alex Washira, for gracing this occasion cognizant of their various commitments. Ladies and gentlemen, Nuclear Power and Energy Agency plays a key role in the system of gears that is supposed to deliver economic growth through industrialization in our nation. The drive towards the use of nuclear power in Kenya's electricity mix started in the year 2010, when the National Economic and Social Council recommended its use to meet the country's growing energy demands. Nuclear power was identified as a stable baseload source of reliable electricity. Whereas the initial investment costs of building a nuclear power plant are relatively high, the operation and maintenance costs are low. Nuclear power plants have higher availability and capacity factors and are carbon-free and environmentally friendly source of bulk electricity. The economic benefits of nuclear power outweighs the costs, and as we speak, over 438 reactors are in operation all over the world. These reactors provide over 398.8 gigawatts of clean electricity. 58 reactors are in various stages of construction. In Africa, South Africa is the only country utilizing nuclear technology to generate electricity. Our sisters in Egypt are in the process of commissioning their first plant and at a very advanced stage of construction. As some of you will know, there are many other countries in Africa that are also pursuing this journey. Exploiting nuclear power for electricity generation is in line with our country's development agenda, and we are committed to ensure that the program is executed in a timely manner. Ladies and gentlemen, Nuclear Power and Energy Agency has been implementing the 2020-2025 strategic plan that is the subject of the 15-year roadmap towards the development of nuclear energy in the country. The 2020-2025 strategic plan streamlined the execution of NUPEA's mandate as outlined in the Energy Act 2019 and other relevant legal and policy instruments. This necessitated a review of the roadmap to incorporate additional functions. The plan sought to provide strategic direction for the implementation of the agency's activities for the period and to provide an overall framework for efficient allocation and utilization of resources. This strategic plan 2023-2027 has been developed to provide direction to the agency in alignment with the fourth medium-term development, MTP4, and the Kenya Kwanza bottom-up economic transformation agenda. The formulation and development of the plan underwent an extensive consultative process through engagement of various stakeholders, including the National Treasury, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, energy sector, semi-autonomous government agencies, development partners, private sector entities, and the general public. The development of the plan included the review of the implementation of the previous strategic plan, environmental scanning, and review of policy documents as guided by the 5th generation strategic plan guidelines and revised guidelines that culminated in the development of the strategic issues. This plan will be used as a tool to organize and quantify the progress of the agency in achievement of its mission, vision, and strategic objectives. The agency will collaborate and partner with stakeholders in executing the planned activities. Internally, the agency will continue to build and equip a cohesive team that will develop and execute the programs that support the goals of the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, successful implementation of this plan will lead to the following 5 key outcomes. 1, progress in the development of the requisite infrastructure for construction, operation, maintenance, and decommissioning of nuclear facilities safely and securely. 2, enhance understanding, social acceptance, and support for the nuclear power and research reactor programs, as well as increase stakeholder support and participation in energy research. 3, develop research infrastructure, enhance human resource capacity in the energy and petroleum sectors, strengthen collaboration with local and international research and academic institutions. 4, enhance coordination and implementation framework of capacity building in the energy and petroleum sectors. And finally, good corporate governance practices, enhance human capital management, and establishment of quality management systems. As an agency, we are committed to go to the greatest lengths possible and to do what is required of us to deliver value to the citizens of this country and ensure that the change which we'll bring will create the right impact, be relevant, and sustainable in the long run. In our roadmap for nuclear power development, we expect to start the bidding process for the first nuclear power plant in the country in 2026 and commence construction in 2027 and commissioning in 2034. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I wish to recognize the various players in the energy industry, some of whom are represented here today, for their continued commitment and efforts to ensure that the agency succeeds in its program. I want to applaud the government of Kenya, led by His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the Ministry of Energy, led by our CS, Mr. Davis Chirchir, and the PS for State Department of Energy, Mr. Alex Wachira, for providing guidance and supporting the activities of the agency. We look forward to further support as the agency commences the implementation of the 2023-2027 strategic plan. Before I welcome the chairman to give his remarks, please allow me to recognize some of the important colleagues that have taken time off their busy schedules to be present. I would like to request, with your permission, Bwana PS, the chairmen from other organizations who are present to just be upstanding. That is Madam Joy Brenda, the chairman of Kenya Power, representing the CEO of Kenya Power, and directors from other organizations. Yes, we have Madam Angela Mulinge, Director KICC, representing the CEO of KICC, and Madam Karen Cherotich, working in the office of the Head of Public Service. Now, may I request the CEOs present? We have the Director General for the Nuclear Regulator, Mr. James Keter. We have the CEO for National Research Fund, Professor Andala. The gentleman you're representing? National? CEO National Cancer Institute. Please say your name. Thank you, thank you. We didn't get an opportunity to meet. We have Mr. Peter Njenga, the CEO, Kengen. We have FCS Dr. Rose Mkalama, the CEO, BEREC. We have Madam Margaret Kibogi, the CEO of Kenya Dairy Board. And also, Bwana CS, with your permission, also allow me to recognize the presence of the representative of the VC for Kenyatta University, Dr. Hashim. I also want to request, oh sorry, yes?
Representing VC Chuka University.
Oh, VC Chuka University, thank you very much.
I'm Dr. representing VC University.
Thank you very much. Any other person? Also at this juncture, Bwana PS, allow me to also introduce my senior management. Please just stand up to be recognized. We have Mr. Bassett Buyuka, Director of Publicity. Madam Dr. Winfred Dubai, Director of Publicity. Strategy and Planning. Director of Strategy and Planning. Engineer Eric Ohaga, Director Nuclear Energy Infrastructure Development. Mr. Peter Ndungu, Director Internal Audit. Karen Oduor, Director Corporate Services. And Mr. Lawrence Siele, Head of ICT. We also have Dr. Anthony Lusuli, who requested to be away because of an urgent personal matter that he actually bereaved. He lost a family member and is attending to that. And also, please be seated. So I want to also request the members of staff for NUPEA just to stand up to be recognized as a whole. Yeah, thank you very much. You may be seated. Before I sit down, Bwana PS, let me express my great appreciation to the staff of NUPEA. They've worked very hard to deliver on this program. And in my discussions with them, they've given a commitment that we are going to work to implement every commitment we put in this document. With those very many remarks, it's my pleasure to now welcome our chairman, Engineer Ezra Odondi Odhiambo, to address you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Davis Chirchir, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, Alex Ochira, Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, Mr. Justus Wabuyabu, CEO, New Pair Board members and senior management present, the various chairmen present here, the various CEOs present, and distinguished delegates. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning once more. I have the pleasure to present the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency strategic plan for the period 2023 to 2027. At this point, I would want to mention that this strategic plan was developed jointly between the board members and the senior management of New Pair before it was subjected to stakeholder participation. And therefore, at this point in time, I would wish to introduce the board members present. So could you be upstanding, please? Today with us here, we have several board members. I'll start with the lady on the right. Liz Lenjo is a director in New Pair. Then we have Mwaura, just behind the peers, also a director, representing Treasury. Then next to him we have Professor Henry Rono. And next to Professor we have Rose Akeo. And behind him we have Arthur Koteng. And then standing behind Mwaura is Munene, who's representing the AG. And also we have Engineer Sam Maundu, who because of personal commitment was not able to participate in today's launching of the strategic plan. Can be seated. I want to say that the board members that have introduced spent a great deal of time. Actually, we took time off with management for about a week to prepare this strategic plan. And the reason we did that was because whenever we mentioned the word nuclear, there are very many questions which have been coming up, and we wanted to make sure that they are addressed adequately in this strategic plan. The first one is that, do we have capacity to manage a nuclear power program and installation? And I can assure you that yes, we do have capacity, and we are continuing to build this capacity. To date, we've trained over 70 persons in various aspects of nuclear technology at master's level and beyond. And we are still continuing, and some of them are working in the institutions within the sector, both in Kenya and out of the country. And we are continuing with this effort such that by the time the power plant will be put up, we'll have adequate human resources to implement, maintain, and sustain a nuclear power plant. Also, it's very important that we engage stakeholders. As was mentioned earlier, the various mandates of New Pair means that we have got very many stakeholders. We've got stakeholders in the academia, as we just had a few VCs are represented here. We've got stakeholders in the medical field. Various referral hospitals are collaborating with us very closely. We have got stakeholders in agriculture, in industry, and in the power sector. And so this strategic plan has got a very solid framework on engaging the stakeholders. Last but not least, we have also included in this strategic plan a framework for engaging Kenyans so that they can understand where we are coming from and where we are heading. It is very important that we give comfort to Kenyans that nuclear it is also very important that we give comfort to Kenyans that nuclear power installations are safe and secure, and that Kenyans will not be exposed to any danger through the installation of a nuclear power plant. Already there are a lot of concerns, and we are putting a lot of effort in assuring Kenyans that nuclear power plants are safe. Also, one of the things that we have to answer a number of times, and that is adequately taken care of in this strategic plan, is that why does it take so long to get a power plant ready for operation? Like the CEO mentioned, this journey was commenced around 2010, and we are talking about power plant in 2035. That is because the implementation of a nuclear power program is guided by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which has got very strict guidelines on the preparatory stages that must be undertaken before one can be welcomed to the nuclear power club. And this involves, one, a very comprehensive legal framework for regulating the introduction and use of nuclear technology in the country. That is followed by a very rigorous process of identifying and commissioning the potential sites to make sure that the sites are suitable for hosting a nuclear power plant, and that the introduction of a nuclear power plant does not in any way interfere with the environment around where the power plant is installed. And this is a process that takes about 3 years to accomplish. So all this put together, plus a construction phase that normally takes anything between 4 to 6 years, then you can see clearly why our target date is 2034. So for that involvement, I must thank the board members for their participation in putting this strategic plan together. Now, as I proceed, I would like also to recognize the presence of the DPP, Mr. Renson Ingonga. You can stand up so that you can wave to the audience. You may be wondering why he's also one of our stakeholders. That is because the nuclear power sector has got a lot of legal issues. When a nuclear power plant is introduced in a country, there are certain treaties that the country must commit to in terms of implementation and protection of nuclear material. And to make sure that all the parties are involved, we've got representation from the AG in our board, and we'll be very soon developing an MOU with the DPP's office so that they can also come on board and their capacity build to address any legal challenges that might come in the implementation and operation of a nuclear power plant. Asante sana. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the agency, as was stated earlier, successfully implemented the first strategic plan of 2020 to 2025. So this new strategic plan will build on that, and hopefully when the next coming strategic plan comes, we'll be in a position to commission our nuclear power plant. Now, this plan is built on a major foundation attained from the implementation of the previous plan. It communicates NUPEA's vision, mission, and strategies put forth to achieve its mandate. And as the Director of Strategy elaborated in great detail the key result areas, and I can assure you that this board is going to put its best foot forward to make sure that this plan is successfully implemented. Now, I appeal to all agency stakeholders and development partners to support programs stipulated in this strategic plan in order to achieve the country's aspiration of safe, affordable, and sustainable energy solutions as stipulated in NUPEA's vision. And before I welcome the peers, I must recognize the support that we have been receiving from the Ministry of Energy and also from the Presidency in terms of coordination and collaboration, because quite a number of times we have to develop MOUs with a number of countries and foreign institutions, and this would not be possible without the support of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Presidency. And we say asante sana. And with those few remarks, it is now my pleasure to invite the Principal Secretary, State Department of Energy, Mr. Alec Washira, to come and talk on his own behalf and also represent the CS and launch our strategic plan. Welcome.
Thank you, Bwana Chairman. And today, you know, I've learned that you're Ezra Odondi. And so today I've also learned Wabuyabu was called Ambutsi. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once again. You know, when you're called upon to launch a strategic plan, you first of all check whether the organization itself is strategic. So when I walked in, my first business was to check who is around the room, so that I know whether the CEO and the board chair has run a strategic plan that is being welcomed by the strategic partners. So the first person I noticed that was around was the chair, KPLC. Then you know that nuclear means business, because when you see the off-taker who is going to guarantee the PPA around, then you know that there is serious business. Then you realize that next to her, you see REREC. And then you realize that this power is going to be taken all over the country, to all over, to including the rural areas. Then you walk around and notice that you have Kengen in the room. And the Kengen can either become an operator, because their business is to generate power, and they are not limited to generating power using geothermal and hydro. Then all of a sudden you realize that you can see National Cancer Institute, then you can see Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Board, then you realize that even the authorities are with us, because the Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Board, its main role is to regulate on nuclear development. Then you look around and you see ODPP. Then you realize that Ezra and team wants to ensure that whatever comes is well taken care of by the ODPP. So ladies and gentlemen, when I was listening to Winnie Dubai, who articulated very well the national, the nuclear strategic plan, and I also had a chance of looking at it, I must say that you did a good job, and please clap for yourselves. And I want to first of all speak to 2 or 3 people. Number one, you may ask yourself, and usually we have a lot of naysayers. When the word nuclear is mentioned, we have a lot of naysayers who are seriously worried. Then they'll ask you, why are you developing nuclear? Have you exhausted geothermal? Have you exhausted water? Why is it that we must generate power using nuclear? But the answer is very simple and clear. Today, we are comfortable as a country with a new peak load of 2185 megawatts, as at last week, Wednesday. We are seeing tremendous growth in terms of demand for power, and that is organic growth for power. we are looking at industrializing this country. So think about 10, 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line, when one will have achieved 100% power connectivity, when we are talking of a population of excess of 70 million people, when we are talking of a GDP and a budget of 8 trillion, 10 trillion and above, then you also look at your country. And indeed, we are blessed because we have enough geothermal, that is about 10,000 megawatts, which we have not fully exploited, yes. We don't have a lot of resources left to exploit in terms of hydro. We still have good resources to exploit in wind, but realize that wind is a variable, intermittent source of power. And also realize that we have good potential of solar, but again, is also a variable intermittent power. So therefore, you realize that we want to industrialize as a country with only one base load. It is not strategic enough for us to develop a country with one base load, that is geothermal. And that is why we must have a candid conversation about development of nuclear power. And I like the timelines in which nuclear power you have set of 2034. Because around 2034, one, we have an agenda of having green power by the year 2030. By 2034, all the power plants, 2035, all the thermal power plants, about 500 megawatts, will be retiring. What shall we replace with as a country when we retire those power plants? Shall we, if we don't plan well, end up load shedding? And if we do load shed, who will be held accountable? It is those of us who are here at that time. And the Kenyans will say, you people refuse to plan. And when you refuse to plan, you are planning to fail. And because we are here, all of us, we are not going to allow ourselves to plan to fail, regardless of the difficulties that we are experiencing through legal hurdles, people going down there in coast, inciting a few people. We must soldier on. We must soldier on. Stakeholder involvement must be top of the agenda. We must continue to plan. When we are launching this strategic plan, which is the second, I do believe, the first one was 2018 to 2023. This is the second one. We have three main agendas in this one. We must look at the site. Then we talk about the owner-operator. Then last but not least, the construction, of which CEO and Chair you have spoken into. So definitely then, we know the areas that we need to do a lot of heavy weight lifting. They are clearly spelled out. And today we are launching the True North. And this strategic plan is the True North. It is going to be our guiding light. Guiding light, like the three wise men in the Bible. You know, the three wise men, they looked at the star, they followed it, and when they got there, they found the birth of Jesus Christ. So today we are launching our True North, our guiding light, which is the strategic plan. We should be followed religiously, like that star that led the wise men to where Jesus Christ had been born. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to first of all bring greetings from our CS, who was given urgent assignments in regard to petroleum. He is out of the country because he has to ensure that we have what we call security of supply, not only for power, but also for fuel. And you realize from 2022 September, you have not had a shortage of fuel in your gas stations, in your petrol stations. It's because of the kind of work that our CS is doing together with the PS Petroleum. So I bring greetings from our CS. I also bring greetings from my own individual self, who was supposed to be away, but the fact that Waziri was away, we realized we cannot both be away, and so therefore I had to sit in because his engagement was much more urgent. So Chair, I bring my the apologies of our CS and also his greetings. I am delighted to join you today as we launch the 2023-27
Nuclear Power and Energy Agency strategic plan, a roadmap that will guide the agency and the sector through the next 5 years as we strive to fulfill Kenya's mission of harnessing the power of nuclear energy for the betterment of our society and the advancements of our nation. Energy is a very critical component to guarantee economic development. This entails the availability and the accessibility of energy at an affordable price. The government has identified energy as one of the key enablers of achieving Vision 2030. Access to clean, environmentally friendly, competitively priced, reliable, quality, safe, and sustainable energy is essential for achievement of Kenya's Vision 2030 and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Kenya is committed to implementing its nuclear power program while adhering to the highest international standards. Some of the key steps undertaken by Kenya so far include training of Kenyans in nuclear-related courses, both locally and abroad, development of legal and regulatory framework for a nuclear power program, stakeholder involvement with a broad range of individuals, institutions, and organizations, as well as technical and feasibility studies, highlighted by the identification of 2 suitable locations for the first nuclear power plant, which are located in Kilifi and Kwale counties respectively. Kenya has also commenced the process of ascending and ratifying relevant international treaties and conventions that relate to nuclear safety. Ladies and gentlemen, implementation of the Kenya Nuclear Power Program offers a unique combination of reliability, affordability, and a low carbon emission, making it an indispensable component of our energy future. It is a catalyst for economic growth, a driver of technological innovation, and a cornerstone of our efforts to combat climate change. As the Energy Agency launched the 2023-27 strategic plan, the Ministry's leadership will offer necessary support to ensure that the outcomes of the strategic plan are met and the mandate of NUPEA is realized as the country progresses with the delivery of the first nuclear power plant by the year 2034. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, let us embrace the opportunities that lie ahead of us with optimism, determination, and a sense of purpose. Let us commit ourselves to the pursuit of a future powered by clean, reliable, and sustainable energy, and let us work together as partners and as stewards of our planet to realize the full potential of nuclear energy for the benefit of all. It gives me great pleasure to launch the strategic plan. Thank you, and may God bless you. Asanteni sana.
Another round of applause for him. That is Alex Kamau Washira, aka Watotol, for those who may not know, and fantastic. And I think his sentiments have gone straight to the heart of those who are behind this strategic plan and those who will need to implement it, and now they need to walk the talk. So, at this juncture also we'd like to thank the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, because what we're doing here is being aired live this morning, and so getting to a very wide audience out there. I think it's very good that we're able to launch this, as you said, PS, with all these strategic stakeholder partners, but also for the greater public to know what we are doing and what we are about and why we are doing this and what it means for Kenya. So to ensure that this message is also home, I'm not a rapper, but I just have a few lines. I want just wase wale pia wako kule tuwagote na tuambie hii strategic plan ni noma videdly. Wase wameisoma hiyo history ina bamba, tutaiget 254 nuclear ni poa, Kenya itang'ara vinoma, tutapata mboka, economy ita grow, Niaje wasemeni ama sinivo. You know, we want even the youth, we are talking of bottom up. Nataka wale mahasla pia wajue what we are doing and why we are doing it, because it's for them as well. So we can talk the megawatts, we can talk SMRs, we can talk nuclear language, we can talk nuclear research reactors, but bottom line down there, anataka dhitima, bei nafuu, affordable, and that's what we're about as well. So the language may be different, the aim, the goal is the same. And for that we are eternally grateful. Just one more anecdote as we move. Our chairman is Ezra, and those who are biblical know Ezra in the Bible. How many know? Who was Ezra in the Bible? Ezra is the one who restored, you know, the religion. After these guys had come from the confusion of Babylonian, you know. Ngapi wanaenda kanisa hapa? Yeah, so Ezra was a very key person even biblically. And I think our chairman here is living up to the name, Ezra. So we need to move to the next stage in our program today. And we want to do the formal launch of this strategic plan. And for that purpose, I will ask forward the CS, accompanied by our Ezra, not the biblical one, ours, but with the same attributes of the biblical. I will ask our CEO as well. And I think, you know, everything in Kenya siku hizi wanasema 2/3 gender rule. So I will also ask the lady who's been carrying the handbags for this, Nani, to come forward. Winfred, why are you looking like you're puzzled? So I think, Carl, you can maybe move the podium. And then we'll move to this other mic. Switch it off. So, once upon a time, a baby was born, and the whole village wanted to see the baby. And some people were saying, huyu mtoto, mimi nimemuona huyo mtoto afanani kama baba yake. Wengine wanasema, huyo mtoto hata afanani kama mama yake. Wengine wanasema huyo mtoto ni wa mama na si wa baba. Wengine wanasema huyo ni wa baba na si wa mama. Wengine wanasema huyo mtoto wameiba. What I'm simply saying, too much rumor mongering, too much inaccurate information leads to confusion. So we have a strategic plan. Whoever in the Republic of Kenya wants to know about NUPEA, about nuclear power, this is the ultimate. This is what you need to read, this is what you need to understand. Hapana ile ya mushene, ile ya kupewa kando kando. So we will have the PS unveil, but not yet. I see your hands are twitching. Okay, we will have you unveil it, and Winfred is on the other side. I think ladies are good at tidying the corners in the house. When us men go and spill all over, they come and clean, and then they just maybe do and they'll do it again and again, because that is the law of nature. So we will we'll do a countdown for that, and let's have some music, if we can, so that we anticipate this moment and are able to. So we go in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We need bread, don't Don't twitch your hands. Relax. 3, 2, 1, and there we go. The Pair Strategic Plan 2023 to 27 is launched. And wow, it's quite a book. It's quite a party, and we say nuclear ni wazi wazi wase. Let's clap for them all. A round of applause. We are on track. Kenya will have nuclear power by the year 2034. And this will be a seminal moment, and it will add on to the existing electricity that we have in the country. Okay, that is fantastic. So it's launched. Shake hands, but don't leave. Shake hands, but don't leave. Don't leave. We move to the next stage now. And unajua kuna sherehe ambayo inakuwa complete bila ka keki hivi. Lazima tukate keki. Where are the cake people? Wenye keki wako wapi? More music. You can anticipate us again.
They use one book, if they lose, we get a copy.
Yeah. So now, yeah. Yeah. Yes. There is a cake matron. In fact, there are a couple of cake I don't know why they're being shy. Si mjitokeze. Unajua mnajificha. Tokezeni alafu mufanye mambo yenu. Mtuambie hii keki ina nini? Is that what cake matrons do? Okay.
Okay. Buenos Dias, our chairman, our CEO, board members, and NUPEA staff. Good morning. I'm delighted and very thankful to the Lord who have done it for us, and we have reached this particular stage. We are here to celebrate. You know, after every lunch, there is a celebration. There is feeding. So NUPEA wants to feed us with the cake, okay? It will be a memory. It's beautiful cake. It's very delicious. We shall all be remembering. When we think NUPEA, we shall be remembering the cake. So, PS, karibu sana. Yes. Okay, Chairman, CEO, na Madam Winnie. Okay, kata. Let's go. Aha, beautiful. Again. Oh. Tupige makofi, keki imekatwa. Okay. So it's eating time. Okay. So. Okay. There you go.
First, Winfred, feed the PS. Naya kufeed. Aya, twende. Oh. And then, Justice, can you feed Madam Chair? Anisawa, atakula ya pili. Fantastic. And then, Karen, can you feed our chair officially? And Lillian, can you feed me? Yeah, feed the CEO, Lillian. Feed him. Lovely. Lovely. And cake should be able to go around. Okay. So what we'll do, we need some photos. All the school ladies and gentlemen need some photos. So so the first one will be the 4 for the strategic plan. If we could move the cake table so that it's... You want 4 first. So you want Joy to leave first. Let her be there. Let her be there. It's fine. Steamer, you and your steamer. This is the one that is going to take all the nuclear energy. Page number? Yes. Each to have their own book. So let's help them with some books. Oh, this. Yeah. Okay. No, after, not right now or after? Okay, DPP, you can come and flank them. Please. Okay, fantastic. So if I could ask the other CEOs to now join, the other CEOs present, and our board members, please come. There's more decks here. Yeah. Karibu. Okay, so the first row just remain. The rest you could withdraw. And now our board members for Nupea, please slot in. And any other board members who are representing, I know we have Mulinga there, KICC, we had a gentleman from, yeah, I think you could join in as well. Come. And say cheese, or say new. You don't even have to say the whole clear. Just say new. Okay, second row now we can withdraw. And I'm seeing these people here, the management, you can come. They are saying me, oh, at Assisi. Nupea management, please, quickly. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all very much. And you may resume your seats. We have just a very small section left. One PS before you. So, Mr. CEO, I want you to come forward. And before we get to the issues of vote of thanks and everything, we want at this juncture to just recognize these good people who have taken their time off this morning to come and be with us by just giving them a small token so that whenever you go, somebody will know you are with Nupea today. We can't let you go mikono miwili. Utaenda na mikono miwili plus. So please come forward, whoever has. Yeah, just. So we want. We want to honor the PS. And we will also give you Mukoba wa CS because he was with us. He may not have been with us physically, but spiritually, I'm sure he was here. And so we will give you Mikoba miwili na CS CEO atakupa ya kwanza hiyo. Haya, mpe ya pili. Ile atapeleka ile tunasemanga kwa tunasema upeleka ujumbe. Okay, thank you very much, PS. And now I'll ask the chairman to please come up and so I'll ask the chairman, Kenya Power, to please come forward, Joy Brenda Masinde. And this is a chairman to chairman affair. I said, okay. So thank you very much, Chairman. And so since Chairman, you are here, I think we can take this opportunity and our CEO who's here, Rosem Kalama, can also come and can just give a small token. Okay, thank you very much. And then I will ask the DPP to please come forward. We do not take your nini for Renson Ngonga. We don't take your presence for, and I wish you knew what Ngonga means, where he comes from. Those who know. I will not say much more, but Karibu. And so thank you very much, Chair. I will now ask Director Lenjo to just come forward. So tumesema kila kitu siku hizi ni gender. So I will ask DG, Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority. This is the regulator. If you have any questions to do with safety and issues of that about nuclear, how is it going to be regulated? This is the gentleman, and I'm sure he's up to the task. Okay, thank you very much. We also had, the CEO Kengen had left, I see. Is there any representative from Kengen who can collect on his behalf? Yeah, no, I was thinking of us, the CEO who was here, but if we have the GDC representative, please. Bushiene. Okay, and Bushiene, we really appreciate you today, and thank you. Ebu spanda juu, alafu angalia hivi kidogo, kapicha. Okay, and then we had, we also had the other CEO. Yeah. Yes. So this is now women only. Yes. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you and appreciate you coming today. We had the representative of the KU, Kenya Cancer Institute and KU. If you come in that order before Director Lenjo decides to move. Okay. So this is Dr. Hashim from KU. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, send our regards to him. And then from the National Cancer Institute as well, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yes, Madam Mulinge, it is you up next. KICC, Kenyatta International Convention Center. The leading convention center in where? In Africa? Absolutely. Panda Ju. Okay, thank you. We really appreciate, and we had, yes, please, come forward. The Law Society of Kenya, and I know the CEO has a special interest. He needs to declare his interest there. Our CEO. But it's good. Thank you very much. Law Society, very key partners because treaties, conventions, we have to accede to a lot of those, and they're very key. Thank you very much, Director Lenjo. Sorry? Huh? Which one? Okay. University of Nairobi? Chuka. Yes, that's where Chuka Igamangombe is. And Igamangombe, I'm told, is something to do with Kuita Ngombe or something. This University of Nairobi. So we'll ask Director Rose, please come forward. Yes, so Director Rose. Sorry? Chuka, yes, thank you. Yeah, just bring ceremonially for us to take the photo. Okay, thank you. Konza Technopolis. Konza Technopolis, where we are going to, and I will ask Director Rono, please. Konza Technopolis is where we want to set up the research reactor. Yes. And you could all step up, just one more step. Yes. Okay. And was that Kenya National Chamber of Commerce? Yeah, please. And Director Rono, hapana kimbia. You just this last two. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And I'm told we also have the IEK in the room, Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Institution of Engineers of Kenya. I see the president here. Yeah, why don't you get up. Okay, IEK, the engineers are a very important partner as well, so thank you very much. By the way, he's confused because he wears two hats. Apart from being the IEK president outgoing, because he's finishing his term, he's also a director for nuclear energy infrastructure development. But here we are calling him now, we were calling him under the guise of the IEA. So thank you very much, Director Rono. We can move now to the next stage. We have the vote of thanks, and that is to be given by yourself. Now, as Nubea. Yes, so karibu.
Thank you so much, Bassett. Eric Ohaga is my name, and members allow me to appreciate the stakeholders that have made it possible for this one to happen. First of all, I want to appreciate Almighty God for giving us this chance to be alive today to see this particular occasion. I know we have come a long way, about 9 months in the delivery of this strategic plan. I also want to thank the CS and the PS for giving us a policy direction and always ensuring that nuclear power program consistently is included in the East Coast Power Development Plan. And for sure, we are grateful for that. We also want to thank our chairman, the vision bearer, for putting this strategic plan together and for ensuring that we are able to launch this particular plan today. I want to thank the Office of the DPP, and we are very happy that we are engaging with the Office of the DPP. As you have heard, the regular framework, the legal framework is very critical, and we must develop their capacities so that when we have the nuclear power program, then we have adequately trained stakeholders that can take us forward. I want to thank the DG Kenya Nuclear Regulatory Authority, Mr. Keten. I think, members, we cannot move an inch if our legal and regulatory framework is not in place. We are looking forward to getting regulations that will ensure that our siting activities and all other regulations that are important for the development of the nuclear is actually in place. And we want to thank you so much for gracing this particular occasion, Mr. Keten. We also want to thank all the CEOs that have made this occasion possible for today. I know you have very busy schedules, but you decided to come and launch this strategic plan with us. We sincerely want to thank all the CEOs of the various institutions, starting with the energy sector and all other sectors that are present here today. I want to thank all the 60 stakeholders, institutions that were invited and heeded our call, starting for the Center for Groundwater Institute, all the way to the anti-nuclear in Kilifi. We are talking about CGR. We want to thank you so much for finding time to be with us. Most importantly, also, we want to thank the management who are going to implement this particular strategic plan. You know, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if you have a bad culture in an institution, then you will not be able to implement that particular strategic plan. We have made that commitment as management and staff that we are going to have a good culture that will be able to deliver on the invitation for peace come the year 2026 has already been established. I want to thank the media, of course, as we have our greatest partner here today, KBC together with KTN, for ensuring that the public can be able to be sensitized on issues to do with nuclear energy development. I want to thank everybody else. I was not able to mention everyone by name, but we are very grateful that you got time to attend this particular launch. Now the ball is on our court. We need to put our hands on deck to be able to deliver this very ambitious strategic plan 23-27. Thank you so much, and may God bless all of us.
Right, so the president has, okay, yeah, of IEK, okay, but also Director of Nuclear Energy Infrastructure Development. Now, what we need to do now, we are going to bring the proceedings to, first of all, clap for yourselves. Wow. Okay, let's go. Wow, and you say, release that energy, whatever is in you, release it, eh? Fantastic. So we are going to bring the session to a close now. We'll have a closing prayer by our in-house bishop. We start walking towards the podium. Edwin Chesire. And then you've all earned a very nice cup of tea, coffee, Milo, whatever you take, and whatever else you partake. Soft drinks. I don't mean anything at all, but you know. So we've got some breakfast lined up for you. Make sure you take a cuppa or two or three, as you may desire, of whatever you take. And we thank you. Let's walk this journey together. It is a Kenyan ambition. It's a Kenyan vision. And we are going to walk that talk. And are we not going to do it? Are we going to do it? Yes, we shall. And Mungu mbele, and the rest is human perspiration. So, karibu.
I'm just singing this song, guys. See what the Lord has done.